Thanks for listening to the Von Haessler Doctrine podcast. Remember, you can hear the show every weekday from 9 to noon right here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Live from Sherwood Forest in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, Hour 1 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. I am your lovable, huggable, mid-morning chat host, Eric Von Haessler, surrounded by the Doctrinaires, man of 1,000 voices, Tim Andrews, lady of quite a few voices in her own right, Autumn Fisher, and the handsomest producer in all of producery, Jared Yamamoto.
I did my jumping jacks. I stretched out. I'm ready to go, Eric.
I can tell you're ready to go because that T-shirt's rather tight, and let me just say the headlights are on.
Cold in here.
Is it that cold? I do keep a cold studio.
Yeah.
So
Freezing in here.
Yes, I do. You always wonder, why does Eric keep the studio so cold?
Yeah.
Little
Eye
eye candy. Little eye candy doesn't hurt as you put on a big show. And what a big show. My producer, this Jared Yamamoto, the one with the headlights on, he tells me, Eric, we're going like commercial free all the way to the bottom of the hour. Just interrupted for our traffic. And so that gets me really excited. Commercial free.
Well, let me ask you this. What about my erectile dysfunction?
Well, sir, commercial free at WSB means, yes, indeed, we will be erectile dysfunction free for the first half hour.
Well, what
of
am I
today's show.
supposed to do?
Just wait till later on. We'll give you your options. Why do you want to last 30, 60, 90 minutes or more?
Well, you see my wife?
Well, I'm just saying, after a while, I mean, you got things to do.
I used to be a hot ticket back in the day.
Yeah.
90 minutes or more. Oh, my goodness. Am I lazy? I've never wanted 90 minutes or more. Am I lazy?
I wish he could go 96 minutes.
Well, I guess you guys still got a good thing going. A good thing. By the way, Autumn, before we get going with this erectile dysfunction-free half hour, can you do me a favor? People may not realize that Autumn's not in the studio, and she's in Baltimore, and so I see her on a laptop. And can you just do me a favor and change your camera position so I don't see that Ronda Rousey poster behind you? It's so disconcerting. There's something very strange going on in the breasticle area in this poster that is just disturbing.
First of all, don't say breasticle. That's more offensive than saying anything else.
Really? I don't know. I find it to be cute and funny.
Ugh. But you know what's worse is chesticle.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
I don't need my pills anymore.
There's just something weird. I didn't mean. No, she changed the camera now so that the Ronda Rousey poster is.
Whoa!
What is happening?
Why do you have that anyway?
She doesn't have that kind of body to be doing that, I don't think.
Well, it's not Ronda Rousey. It's Chelsea Lynn.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, she's somebody.
A drag queen?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know who
Not a
Chelsea
drag
Lynn
queen.
is. I'm afraid to find out. I mean, it's a family show for her.
She has a character. She has a character named Trailer Trash Tammy.
Oh,
and
that's
she's
her.
really funny. Alan knows who she is.
Okay, so that's her thing. All right. It looks like Ronda Rousey.
She's got her boobs out in every
strange.
picture. It's great.
You're really focused on chest this morning, Eric. What's going on with you?
Well, you got your headlights on, and she's got the fake Ronda Rousey thing going, and and I'm trying to get through this.
Tim's got his jacket on for a reason, okay?
I know. Well, you're saying that he would be the same as you. All right, you know what?
You're scaring us.
This is a family show. Zip that back up, Tim Andrews. You know what? Maybe this was a bad idea.
Tim.
Maybe this is a bad idea. Let's start running some of those erectile dysfunction commercials. There's a little bit of a scandal that I uncovered here at WSB yesterday. This involves a fellow coworker, and I like to be a good colleague, So I don't want to bust anybody. So for the sake of this conversation, let's refer to this coworker as Shaney X.
Whatever that could be.
Yesterday I was right before I left, on the way out, I stopped in my bathroom, and so one person. There's two bathrooms here, down in this one hall. Most of the bathrooms are public bathrooms with a bunch of people at the same time. I'm not into that. I like to have my privacy. So down at the end of the hall near my office, there's a men's room and a women's room, and then there's just one person at a time. And so that's where I was. And I'll have you know, it was a very quick trip for me. This was just business, but it was of the number one variety. I wasn't in there forever. While I was standing there, the door handle jiggles a little bit. Somebody tries to get in. It's locked. Okay, well, this happens. Then I hear the door open to the women's bathroom right next to me. And I think, well, hold on. Either a woman just tried to get into this bathroom or a man is now using the woman's bathroom. And in my mind, I thought, again, I want to protect my coworkers. Shaney X. I know this guy. I know what he's all about. So then I walk out, and lo and behold, guess who walks out of the women's bathroom? Shaney X.
Busted.
Busted. But I don't want to take it to HR or anything. But my question is that a thing? Is that because there's been plenty of times that I've gone down there and jiggled the handle, and there's somebody in there, and I just think, well, I got to go somewhere else in the building or just wait my turn. I never thought that it's considered okay for a man to go into a woman's, admittedly, it's not a restroom with a bunch of people. It's only one person at a time. You lock the door, but are there not rules about this? And if there aren't, I understand.
No. It's okay for a woman to use the men's room in an emergency, but it is not okay for a man to use the women's room.
Why? Men should just hold it and blow up? I mean, what's the difference?
There's a building
be a man. Rub some dirt on it.
There's a building down the street you could use.
Oh, yeah. Tim Andrews, Port Nenny, says too many storms and too many ports. Yeah. So I just want to say, I don't know.
Any bush in the storm.
If this is a new thing, then I guess I'm allowed to use the women's. I didn't know that, especially in this Me Too era where everything is so. Alan, you use it as well? Oh, Alan, I follow you into the bathroom. You should not be doing that in the women's bathroom. Oh, that's from the weekend. That's from the weekend, Alan says. Okay.
Shaney B, write that down.
I didn't say Shaney B.
Shaney X, write that down.
I don't know where you got this.
Wow, Tim.
Wow. Man, this guy doesn't care. I'm trying to protect people and find out just exactly what the rules of the road are. All right, let's do this.
Headlines for Tuesday, January 28th.
It's Jarrett's fault. He wrote the joke.
A funny thing here, another thing I wanted to get off my chest. As soon as I walked into the studio, somebody had left CNN on the monitor. And there was a thing at the bottom of the screen. What do we call it? A banner, whatever.
Yeah.
Lower third. Crawl. It's not a crawl because it wasn't crawling. It was just a one. It was just a not a head.
Chiron?
No, I know what it is, and everybody listening knows what it is. We don't have to waste everybody's time going through.
Crawl?
Shut up. It said, "What's fueling Bernie Sanders' rise in the polls?" And I immediately thought, stupidity. Might be a simple answer. Stupidity would be the only reason that adults in this country would think, my goodness, I'll tell you a good remedy for an economy that's on fire. No, stop right there. When the economy is on fire, you need no remedy. Prescriptions are for disorders and diseases. When the economy is on fire, it's doing what you always wished and hoped it would do. Therefore, put away the Band-Aids. So it would only be stupidity, right? Is it just if the unemployment rate is at 3.4%, is it just the 3.4% that just can't seem to get anything done, who think, you know what, we got to turn this economy upside down and inside out. It's just not working. If we don't have an economy that works for 100% of the people, we got to turn it upside down, because surely we could change the whole system and do much better than an unemployment rate that is at a 50-year low. That looks to me, can somebody please run for president and give me remedies and prescriptions? Because I cannot live in this economy at a unemployment rate of a 50-year low. Are we going to do something about the problems in this country, or are we just going to talk about it?
But I don't want to work, and I want to get paid. That's what I want.
Well, then Bernie Sanders, I guess, would be your guy.
I'll wipe out your debt.
How are you going to wipe out my debt by raising my taxes? I don't understand that.
Not your taxes. The guy that's richer than you. Your neighbor across the street who has a nicer car, has a better job.
Yeah, but I'm married, and together we bring in $65,000 or $70,000 a year.
Well, isn't that wonderful? That's great, but you really got to chip in for the guy across the street who doesn't want to work.
Well, how does that Okay, now I'm starting to get it. I'm working. I got to chip in for the person who doesn't want to work.
His kids deserve to have a useless college degree as much as yours.
I mean, at this point, when the unemployment rate is at 3.4%, if you're not working, you do not want to work for one reason. I'll carve out you can't work. You know, your leg's all busted up or something. That's a very few. But if you're not working in America, you don't want to work. That can mean a choice. I've got a degree in this, so I don't want to do that. That's your choice. But you don't want to work. If you want to work in America, now's the time. Now's the time to get out there and get a job when they're plentiful. I don't know what it is that people think Bernie Sanders is going to bring that is going to be better than what we have. Because neither Trump nor Sanders, Republicans nor Democrats are ever going to deliver a perfect economy that is perfect for everybody all the way up and down the socioeconomic scale. Let's use some common sense, people. That's never going to happen. Why? Because it's impossible. So when we start electing people, how about we start electing them based on things that can be done? That can be done. That would be a beginning of saying, I deserve the vote because I'm a reasonable person and I'm going to vote. And if I'm on the left, I'm going to vote for things that can reasonably possibly be done. And if I'm on the right, from my perspective, I'm going to vote for people who are touting things that reasonably possibly can be done. What can never be done? Why? Because it's impossible. Is to deliver an economy that works gangbusters for every single human being in America. Some people will get ahead. It's dynamic. We go up and down. You get knocked down. You get up, brush the dust from your pants, and go back at it.
And file for welfare.
It's to file for welfare, which is going to get. I said this yesterday. I can absolutely understand when young people become enamored with socialism because it's an ideal. When you're younger, you're idealistic. Young libertarians are insufferable. They're so ideal. Everything has to be all the way to the maximum. And young Republicans are the same way. As you get a little bit older, you realize, there's a little give and take to this life. I'll start voting for people that I think are going to tilt things more in my direction, but I'm a grown up. I understand I can't vote for somebody who's going to give me every single thing I want. It's like what's going on in the, maybe this would be the first story, this Kelly Loeffler thing.
Yeah.
And Collins decided that he's going to get in. Yeah, hi, Kelly Loeffler. How are you?
I'm Kelly Loeffler.
Yeah, she was born.
Leave a message.
What was that, Kelly Loeffler?
I'm Kelly Loeffler.
Please leave a message.
So
after the beep.
What's the news on that front? This is fantastic. This is Republicans in the state of Georgia deciding, hey, let's go to war with each other.
Yeah, there's two stories.
We're worried we're becoming a blue state. You know the best way to make sure that doesn't happen? We'll start internecine warfare, and we'll go to war with each other. That will surely make us stronger against the Democrats. I missed that chapter in the Sun Tzu book, The Art of War. First, fight with each other, decimate yourself, use up your ammo, then hit the big battlefield.
So it's expected at noon today that Doug Collins is going to challenge Kelly Loeffler for that Senate seat that Johnny Isakson vacated now.
Right. And then at the same time, there's a Georgia House subcommittee that's passed some legislation to change that jungle primary, which I've never really understood, where Democrats and Republicans all run at the same time,
right,
and you split votes, right? I mean, if the Democrats are smart enough to get behind one person while the Republicans are breaking votes between two people, you end up in a worse situation. So it makes sense to me that you would back it up into May, have a primary for each side, and then have one from each, a general election. But I don't know if this is true or not, but I hear that like Kemp is against that idea.
I'll veto it.
What is the point here? What is the point? This Collins has Trump behind him. That's going to get a bunch of people, Georgia Republicans. Brian Kemp, newsflash. Georgia Republicans like you, but not as much as they like Trump. Am I wrong? I'm just objectively looking at this. I don't know. Is this personal? Do Kemp and Collins not like each other, and this is personal, and it's such a personal thing and so important that let's just tear apart the Republican Party? Because I got news for you. I don't know Kelly Loeffler, but I'm not all impressed at all with this first round of commercials.
Come on, with this ad?
She acts like, this is what the ad should say. I'm Kelly Loeffler, and I'm checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you checking all the boxes?
I'm Kelly Loeffler, and I'm doing it all. I'm checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what's right.
Inspirational.
Inspiration.
How long is
And I grew up on a farm,
Yeah,
so
I know.
I
We all
know
know.
what's hard
My
work.
first bill called to end impeachment.
Well, stop for a
Yeah.
second. Did she vote for these bills, or am I supposed to believe
I
that
don't
she's
know.
sponsored?
That's her first bill.
Sorry, Kelly. Did you what? You said you don't know?
I don't know.
Let me take care
Whatever
of
you want. Did you want me to vote for this?
That's her first bill.
But meaning that's the first bill she voted for, or did she actually? Because the one thing I know. One thing
Uncle
about
taught me what it's like to work hard on the farm.
we know you lived on a farm. We don't have to hear it anymore.
I know that the good old days about the farm and the animals.
Yeah. Okay. You lived on a farm. That's fantastic.
My first bill called to end impeachment.
Kelly Loeffler.
My second bill supported killing the world's deadliest terrorist.
Well, that's conservative.
Kelly Loeffler, a
How many big is that?
businesswoman, not a career politician.
China is attacking American jobs.
I don't like
Iran is
them.
attacking American troops.
I don't
and
like them.
Congress only attacks the president.
That's right.
It has to stop.
has
I'm Kelly
to
Loeffler.
stop.
I approve
All right.
this message
All
because
right, Kelly, hold on. I know you're
has to
passionate. You have things to
stop.
say. I believe we have to go check traffic. Is that correct, Alan?
Yes, we do. It's 9:19 or 9:20 in the Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. I'm Veronica Harrell, 95.5 WSB.
So I believe we have an open mic that speaks to this. That kind of, I don't know that I really understand it, but I believe it speaks to my point that for no good reason, it seems like the Republican Party in Georgia is going to go to war with one another.
Oh my gosh. That would make all of these open mics that I send you every day worth it, telling you how I'll never vote for Brian Kemp again and I'll never vote for Kelly Loeffler. I didn't think Doug Collins would want to separate the party. I didn't think he would want to break up the party because he's just a nice guy like that. But he's ready. He's ready to do it, and I'm ready to follow him, and I'm ready to fight Brian Kemp, and I'm ready to fight Kelly Loeffler because she doesn't represent Georgia values like Brian Kemp says.
You know, he was making fun of you there.
I
Brian.
ain't scared. I'll meet you behind the convenience store. I done it in high school. I do it now.
I
got a cheerleader.
It doesn't. When I would ask that guy, it's not I'm a libertarian, so I'm not in the Republican Party, so it's up, it's your party. But when I would ask that guy who's getting so excited for this, do you think that news makes Democrats in the state of Georgia happy or sad? Now, I know what's going to happen next. The guy's going to go, I don't give a damn. They're Democrats. Well, all I'm saying is you might want to consider the fact that if they're happy, the reason would be because they believe there's a better shot at actually getting the Senate seat. So, again, we cover things objectively, but I will say this. If the Republicans somehow manage to fumble this ball, they deserve it. I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got a state party that cannot control itself enough to keep this backstage in the barn, then you absolutely deserve it. And if you're a voter and you're a Republican in the state of Georgia, if you lose, you deserve the 6 years that you're going to get of the opposition party. I'll be losing. I'm sure there'll be some libertarian I'll vote for that will lose. We understand that. I don't have skin in this game. But objectively speaking, you Republican voters will deserve every bit of the 6 years of Democrat senator that you get, because we're months out from the election. And a good party, Democrat or Republican, the Libertarians are not a good party. Let's not get into that. But a good party handles these disagreements backstage, behind the scenes. And if Kemp doesn't like Collins, a good party walks up to him and says, take a big swallow, fella, because you're going to eat this one because we're going to go and try to win this election. I'm not talking. Maybe Kelly Loeffler will get more votes in the state of Georgia than any other Republican that's run for the Senate. I find that highly. Yeah, maybe this style of I was born on a farm or whatever is going to bring everybody.
I want to hear from everybody in the crowd. If you've
I
been
was born on a farm.
Let me get a hey. Oh.
Hey. Ho.
I can't hear you. I'm Kelly
Really?
Loeffler.
I'm standing right in front of you.
if this is what you want in that party, I mean, I think it's an overreaction to Stacey Abrams. I think it's an overreaction to suburbs, women in the suburbs. I could be wrong. If there was a slam dunk and the Republicans in the state lose all of the female Republicans in the suburbs, maybe then you could go, okay, we need to change our ways. But I think at this point, it's overcorrecting. Stacey Abrams is overrated. Stacey Abrams knows this. That's why Stacey Abrams is not running for this seat. She knows her power is mythological. If she runs again and loses again, it's done. It's over. Everything moves on. So pretending that the gubernatorial election was stolen from her, which it wasn't. And when I say it wasn't, I mean not one whiff of evidence that happened. But there's a mythology about it, and it gives her power. But it didn't actually happen. That's why she's not running for this Senate seat, because she knows she loses her power when she loses again. So what happened was that Cagle was the presumed nominee, turned out to not be a very good candidate for governor, and Brian Kemp rose out of nowhere with the shotgun on the porch ads. And when you got to the actual election for the governorship, you had two people that really not a whole lot of people on either side even really knew a whole hell of a lot about. And you had kind of a weird election that was very close. Don't get me wrong. The state's trending blue. As more industries leave other parts of the country and bring their workers here, it makes sense. They're going to vote here the same way they voted where, if they came from New York City or Seattle or Los Angeles or whatever. That's a gradual kind of thing. But this is an overreaction to Stacey Abrams' strength in the gubernatorial election and the fact that a lot of female Republicans don't like the president's style. But that doesn't mean that it's unwinnable. It doesn't. What you need is not. With Kelly Loeffler, it seems like they're trying to invent a candidate. And that usually doesn't work. Doug Collins may have his downside, but he's been a politician for a long time. He knows how to run for office, and he certainly knows how to talk to people in Valdosta. This is a big state with a lot of how many counties? I can't even remember how many counties. A lot of counties.
A lot.
And almost all of it isn't in the metro Atlanta area, which means almost all of the state is not populated by female Republicans living in the suburbs. I just feel like this is an overreaction. But again, hey, I'm in a party that never wins. So
159 counties in the state of Georgia.
That's 159 counties Kelly Loeffler has to introduce herself to.
Hi.
Don't.
Not that it's not getting off to a grand start.
Hey, everybody. It's a lot. Wow.
I think there's a mistake on the other side, too, Eric, and that is...
Well, it's all politics. They're all making mistakes.
The Democrat darling from a couple of years ago, Jon Ossoff.
Yeah.
I mean, he chose to go against David Perdue, the incumbent senator.
He didn't know who he'd be
Jon
running
Ossoff is Stacey Abrams in a suit and tie. Yeah. It's the same damn thing. He's completely mythological. He couldn't win. Listen, and I'll be honest. This isn't about voting. I happen to know Karen Handel, and I like her as a friend. But let me be brutally harsh here a little bit. This Jon Ossoff, with millions of dollars from the National Democrat Party, could not beat Karen Handel, and Karen Handel lost the very next election to a nobody. She's a somebody now because she's in the House of Representatives, but not somebody who was well known. So that shows that Karen Handel was a weak candidate in that district. And Ossoff couldn't beat her. This is like the Beto O'Rourke thing. I don't know what it is with Democrats. If you lose in a big race with a lot of money, people say, you should run for president. It used to be that actually winning races is what made you popular in a party, and people thought you should do more. So Jon Ossoff is the same thing. He's mythology. Beto O'Rourke was mythology until he made that fatal decision that Stacey Abrams is smarter and did not do. He bought the hype. He read the news clippings, and he jumped in there and got no traction in the presidential race. And now we'll find out if he has any. I'll bet you he's lost a lot of power in his own state by failing that spectacularly. But look at what happens, because there were millions and millions and millions of dollars behind him, and he pushed Ted Cruz to the wall. Nobody noticed what a bad candidate he was. Jon Ossoff was a bad candidate. I mean, he just doesn't even appear to have emotions. I mean, if you want an android, I know he's a Star Wars fan, but he was very android-like.
Star Trek.
Was it? No, it was
I like both.
Yeah, I thought it was the thing with Star Wars.
Well, my jammies are Star Wars, and my bed is Star Trek.
Jon Ossoff. Well, that'd be a great debate between Ossoff and Kelly Loeffler.
Hey, I like Star Wars.
Put it on late at night so people who have trouble falling asleep will get a good night's rest and wake up ready to take on the next day. Republicans, do what you want. I'm looking at it from the outside. I'm not voting for anybody you put up. I'm a libertarian. But objectively speaking, internecine warfare before you get to the real battle doesn't work. But I guess there's some bad blood, so sort it out. Maybe there's something I want to flesh this out a little bit later in the 10 o'clock hour. But let me just tease ahead. Clive Cliverson, my radio guru / consultant, says tease. You know what he told me? He said, it doesn't even matter if you actually do what you said you're going to do.
No, they don't care.
He said listeners are dumb and they forget, but just tease them, he said. I don't agree with that.
It's unbelievable.
I don't
They
agree.
just like the tease.
So here's all I'm just saying. All I want to say, and we'll flesh this out later, is whether you know it or not, when you're listening to me and you happen to not be in media of any kind, and your job has no television cameras around you, and you're not on television, you might need someone who's in radio but has dabbled here and there to let you know something that people obviously don't know as I'm watching live coverage of my favorite sports shows from the Super Bowl outside. It's not a big deal to be on television standing behind the people who are doing the show. I say this as a public service because it's quite obvious to me that you don't know that. I don't even understand. Okay, you're on your cell phone. You're calling Sally. Hey, turn to channel 300 and whatever. And then she tunes in, and there you are in the background acting a fool.
Oh my God, I see you. I can see you. Say hi.
But Sally knew that you were in Miami for the Super. What has changed here? You're not a star. No one is going to say, hey, I saw that kid behind the sports guys. Let's sign him up for a show. So it's a public service. I'm letting you know something that, I'm sorry, apparently you don't know. It's not a big deal to be on television behind your favorite host, whether it's sports or that you're at the window on the Today Show.
What about in the Battery, when they do the post-game show and y'all dance around there?
Is the idea, yeah, Eric, I know I look like a moron, but I'm a moron on TV, and there's something special. Would somebody define to me what is special about that? You don't see professionals do it. You don't see the anchor from the evening news show up in somebody else's shot and start, hey, look at me! They know better. They know it's silly. All right, let's do this.
Haessler Doctrine. Tech Tuesday with Greg Rudd.
All right, Greg, I got to you as quick as I could. I know you get very upset when I start going on my ranting before I get to you.
Well, I also understand that you have to rant.
I have to rant?
Look, it's built in. You have to do it. You cannot resist ranting. Something gets in your head, it's an unstoppable force.
It might be why I'm a highly successful, well-paid talk show host.
I'd also like to say that I went to WCW Monday Night Nitro at the Georgia Dome when I was in high school, and I was sitting on the side of the ring. The cameras were across. I was on TV quite a bit, and I knew that, and I made a sign that said Greg with an arrow pointing down to my head.
Wow.
I was on TV.
Now you know what? It turns out that you're proving me completely wrong because you're in the media and your career obviously started right there. I got to rethink my position on this.
It took off. I also tried to impress the girl by putting her name on the sign, a different sign. I said, "Hi, Laura."
And did
watch Nitro. And then I went in the next day. She's like, I'm not going to watch that crap.
Oh, it was pre-recorded, so you knew it was going to be on the next day.
No, it was live.
Right.
But, she said, I'm not, meaning she wasn't ever going to put herself in a position to watch that.
Well, you know what? Well, she was better than you, obviously. I think that I would go toward her point of view on wrestling, which is something I do not understand. I liked it when I was 10, but I don't understand adults who love wrestling. I'm not against you. I'm not talking down to you. I'm just saying I don't understand it. There are things that I like people don't understand.
You never had Diamond Dallas Page run by you because he was entering the ring at this point by running through the crowd, and he ran right by me that same night. And
I've had to deal with I've had to deal with interviewing Diamond Dallas Page about his hot yoga many times. So I've done my time.
Hey, he's saving people.
I know. I like him.
Snake.
He's a nice guy. What do you got for me on Tech Tuesday?
Exciting news for all those space tourists out there. NASA is going to attach a private room to rent on the International Space Station. A company, Axiom Space, which I actually did a video for these people in my other job.
Oh, really?
A few years ago, and they were in the running for this. And it turns out we saw some of the designs. They were in the running, and they were granted the contract to build a module that will attach to the International Space Station.
So they Space B&B.
Yeah, Space B&B. Yeah, I like it. So they build the module, the thing that's attached that is going to be where tourists stay, and then SpaceX or somebody takes it up there. Like Axiom is not going to get it there. They're just going to build it and then they're going to lease it out. Is that the idea?
Yes, that's the way it's working. Here's the thing. None of it's luxury. It's still a space capsule.
Oh.
You go in there and it's exactly what you think. It's not going to a 5-star or even a 4-star, even a 3-star hotel.
Yeah, but there's no bed bugs up in space. That's the one thing I think you can be... Unless you bring them up there with you. That would be hilarious if the first tourist have some sort of luggage and they've just gotten back from Europe or something. Some dirty Scandinavian town, and they bring bed bugs back, and they infest the International Space Station with bed bugs, and then maybe they can do some experiments on the bed bugs, and we'll find out how they bite in low gravity orbit or something like that. They might as well. I don't think the International Space Station is worth anything. I got to be honest. At this point, I don't think that they're producing anything that's interesting that couldn't be simulated in a computer simulation. So you might as well rent out space and try to make some money.
I'm still stuck on your comment about that's famous Scandinavian grime. Yes, some of the dirtiest places in the world.
I have no idea. I was trying to think of just some backwater Scandinavian places where they still have outhouses.
Why'd you just say New York? I see mattresses on the street here. People are discarding them. I stay as far away from them as I can.
Do people pick up mattresses off the street in New York City and take them into their homes?
No, but sometimes they just put them on the street, and I don't know what the method of disposal is, but you never know.
Maybe they care about the homeless. They'll give a nice place to sleep.
I don't want no bed bug.
That's true.
Even they avoid it.
That's true. By the way, I saw a long time ago a documentary. It was one of the guys at that time who stayed in the International Space Station as an astronaut an extreme amount of time. It was either 6 months or a year or something. And he says it's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. It stinks. And of course it would. It's just human beings in a very small, confined place for a long, long time. I guess how quick can you get back? Can you go up there for a week? I mean, you got to go. Are you stuck there 3 months?
Getaway.
I know, but you got to get back. How often do they send things to the International Space Station?
Well, that's the thing. You have to work around that schedule, right?
Yeah.
At that point where it's profitable enough just to have shuttle back and forth because there's so many people going up. So you hitch a ride.
You get to hitch a ride back on the Chinese lunar module.
You know what I would do if I was bored and they didn't send somebody for me? I'd threaten to jump.
They'd be like, maybe let's follow this through and see what happens.
Let's see what problem
We're
is.
all scientists. We wonder what's going to happen.
Greg, you know this better than I do. I think that the problem is my body would stay right there with them the whole time. Like I would be flying at 16,000 miles an hour with them.
Well, it depends. And if you just pushed yourself a little bit, just a little push, then you would drift away.
Oh, at the same speed for eternity.
Oh, right.
Well, you know that Elon Musk is going to come up with some kind of service that's going to go up to the ISS back and forth, maybe like a daily, a daily shuttle. Exactly. Yeah,
it's a shuttle. Okay, you're going to have a daily shuttle to the ISS. We had the space shuttle for how many years? From like 1980 to 90.
Garbage.
So when did we retire that thing? 2000 something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe 30 years.
Yep.
And how many astronauts do we lose? I mean, like 10.
14.
I mean, we lost so if you're going up there every day or a week, I don't see it. I don't see that we're there yet. I think this is ridiculous.
Well, I have a Tesla rocket.
It's very difficult to get out of the gravity. Once you get through that boundary, then you can just kind of float. You're fine. But it's the amount of fuel necessary to defy gravity and get out there is still amazing. Yes.
That's what I was going to say. As soon as Elon Musk comes up with those electric boosters, we're fine. You take the Tesla technology, you put it in a rocket booster, and then you're just running off electricity. You charge it in your garage.
Yeah.
Right.
Where are the climate change people? We're just going to have this tourist industry where you have to use 80 billion pounds of fuel for each flight.
It's electric fuel.
Well, that's electric fuel. The electricity's coming from somewhere. What is it, coal burning? It's coming from somewhere.
Space.
You're just using your mind. Elon Musk is so smart, he only uses half of his brain, so he can use the other part of his brain energy, link it into the grid, and use that to clean up the environment.
I can charge a phone just by looking at it.
You're a genius, Elon Musk.
Yeah, and the wireless charging is put it on Elon's head and it charges.
All right. I think it's I've said this before. When people tell me about the first space tourist, I say, no, excuse me, you're talking about the first tourist to die in space. That's the way that I see it. I don't know.
Go down in history, right? That's ultimately you want something.
Yeah, that's true. It'd be weird if you did die in space, in orbit, and you'd just be out there like a satellite forever, and people get a telescope and go, hey, there's Uncle Jim.
That would be fun.
Still floating around.
100,000 years from now, there's my ancestor.
It'd be like if you're a kid in school, you'd always be cool. You always point up at your uncle who's, that's like cool if you're
I feel like there are some ancient civilizations that say, the stars are, your ancestors looking down. And then in the future, it'll come full circle. It really will be.
Yeah, it's Uncle Jim and Aunt Sally. Alan, the body would not rot because is it a pure vacuum there in lower orbit? Greg, you know more about these things.
Well, if you're in lower orbit, eventually you'll get pulled back in.
That's right. Slowly you'll get pulled back in, but it'll take a long, long time.
It's cold.
But
You'd
it's
freeze.
Very cold. Very, very cold out there.
Brr.
Haven't you heard the...
What's the Mellish meter out there?
Unless you're Princess Leia, then you can fly.
Well, that's true.
Don't talk about it.
That's science. That was bad science fiction, Tim. That wasn't...
I thought that was real.
All right, next story there, Gregory.
Well, crisis averted. Woodruff Park Wi-Fi is set to be renewed thanks to Georgia's own credit union. There's that risk going away, this free Wi-Fi in Woodruff Park, but it's being saved.
It's still free to go to the bathroom there. That never went away, right?
Yeah, you can do that, but I can check my stocks and my REITs.
Oh, you got a lot of real estate?
Yeah. I don't live there, I like to make rent.
That's right. You're a landlord. You're not homeless, you're a landlord.
I don't like that term. I'm a property owner.
Okay, very good. And you do your investments there in Woodruff Park. There are also a lot of students who use that park, right, during the day.
Yes.
Right? It's Georgia State.
Well, it's gotten a lot nicer. I think the Woodruff Park that we remember was full of those bushes with rats crawling around.
All I remember,
people sleeping in the lawn.
The good old days.
From the I know they cleaned it up. It's terrible now.
It is.
It's not cool anymore.
There's
a playground. Boring.
You go over like one of the side streets. This is when, to me, and most people, when they say, I know I'm in a bad neighborhood, there's some sort of racial undertone. With me, I know I'm in a bad neighborhood when I see a guy selling socks on the street corner.
But they're so cheap.
Selling socks.
15 pair for $1.
Oh my goodness, thank you. You know what? I can't find socks anywhere. How lucky that this guy, who appears to have, some open wounds, is selling socks right here. This is my lucky day.
The Von Haessler Doctrine.
He's extremely funny, he's got a great sense of humor, and he brings a lot of good content to the air.
On 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
All right, it's Tuesday. The name of the segment is Tech Tuesday with Greg Russ. So why don't we try to get yet another tech story out of you, Greg Russ?
YouTube moderators are being forced to sign a statement acknowledging the job can give them PTSD.
Now, if they sign the statement, does that mean Google's off the hook if they get PTSD? But if I sign the statement, am I acknowledging that I don't quite understand?
Yes, ultimately these things come about because Google is trying to protect themselves.
Yeah.
But and I get this. We laugh at it. But if you're sitting there and you have to watch user-generated content, you're going through everything that is posted, and you have a window, an insight into humanity, I'm sure it's not pretty.
Yeah. I can see it. I bet you, I would imagine Google's doing it because, like anything else, it can be abused. So, yes, I could see that someone could be traumatized by something they see because they're looking at all this user. We've read the stories of things that are done online, and, people have been killed in real time. There's a lot of things that people being very dangerous with themselves and other people, and I could see how that could be traumatic. My guess is most people are not traumatized. It would be a small group of people that actually see things that are just you can't unsee, and they're very violent or just terrible. But I know human beings well enough to know that also a lot of people will say that that's the case to try to get some money from Google or something along those lines. Go ahead.
There's a move also with companies now just to be proactive with mental health. So I do think there is that legal aspect to this, but just looking out for their employees possibly. Google likes to be progressive on that front. So within this, you're being offered a wellness coach. You can call a hotline if you need to talk to someone.
Can I swap it out for a personal chef? Hey, I can handle that, but as long as you got the dough, I don't need the wellness coach. I always wonder about people who. Wasn't Oprah just in town with a big wellness thing?
Yeah,
she was. It cost like $200 for a day
I feel so much weller.
What
was
is
that State
wellness?
Farm with The Rock?
Wellness. What is wellness? I mean, it really seems generalized and vague, and everybody's
it's different for all of us.
Yeah, I know, but apparently the one cure is to give Oprah $200 and spend the day with all of her wellness experts. I don't know if it was 200. I think it was pretty high, though.
It's big business right now, selling wellness and marketing. And marketing empathy watch these companies pay attention to commercials. They're selling empathy now.
Yes,
we're a big corporation, but really we care about you.
No, there's the new one, and I think that they're being the stuff that growing up I called them Bayer, but now I know it's Bayer. Used to just be aspirin, but they're getting in trouble for all kinds of stuff that's not real. Do they buy Monsanto? Are they the ones? Whatever. They're stuck with all these lawsuits that aren't real. They're not really hurting people. And I saw a commercial of theirs the other day that might as well have just been, come on, millennials, like us, please. You're begging for millennial acceptance. That's not so good. All right, Greg, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fine Tech Tuesday. And now back to Monday Night Raw or whatever it is you're going to enjoy next week. Hour 2 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. Did you put that up on the Insta?
Oh, I'm going to right now.
Make sure you put Shaney X strikes again.
Do it right now.
See, now, I guess maybe I could. I don't want to bust my colleague, so I'll keep him undercover and call him Shaney X. But I think he reveals his face as the man who goes into the female bathrooms here. And I don't mean in a weird way. It's only one person. It's only one person at a time.
He doesn't go in when other people are in there.
A single stall bathroom? Is that the proper?
Single use.
Single use.
Now, single use, that means you can only use it once.
Yeah, well, no, you can. You can only do number one in one of them and only number two in the other. They're each single use.
The men's room is the number 2.
Yeah, this way you know what you're good. If you only want to do number one, I think that you should be able to know that you're going to walk into a pleasant environment. Sure. If your dirty, gross human being is going to engage at number 2 at work, well, you deserve to walk into that.
Work out your schedule so that you don't do that here.
That petting zoo.
Well, some of us can't really adhere to a schedule.
All right, we don't need to get into that because next thing you know, we'll be talking about you,
in the bushes.
I've altered myself, just so you know.
You've altered yourself? For
My
people,
diet.
This didn't come up till late in yesterday's show, but Tim Andrews.
Hey, I thought you didn't want to rehash it.
Lost it. Well, if we're going to talk about it, I got to bring people up to speed. And I think we should talk about it because this is something we all love you, Tim. This is an intervention.
Uh-oh. You intervened yesterday.
Well, this is intervention.
Did you see what I had for breakfast today?
Have you seen what Hollywood does? Sequels. This is what works in media.
For breakfast and grapes.
You had apples and grapes. I don't know what you're going to eat after that. I don't know what drive-through fast food line you're going to pull yourself into.
None of that.
So hey, people need to know that this guy, Tim Andrews, he had his gallbladder removed in his early 20s.
Lost it.
And what that means is that you have to change your diet because you can't eat greasy foods. But he refuses to do this. And so, was it Friday night? Or when was
No,
this?
Sunday night.
Sunday night, he goes to see America.
Ventura Highway.
Yeah, he said it was a very enjoyable show. I'm sure that it was. Did you just snort?
I did, and I can't help it. Sometimes I
What's going on
snort.
with you? You can't, both ends you can't control. So his lovely wife says, let's walk. It's a nice night. We don't have to take Uber back to the... I guess you parked here. Let's walk.
Yeah.
And so he thinks, well, I don't know if I can make it, because this is the way it is with Tim. I mean, when nature doesn't call. Nature just
kicks down the door.
Yeah.
It's a beacon.
It's a jackbooted thug.
He gets 100 feet within a gas station and decides he cannot make it.
I didn't decide. Something else decided.
Nature decided. And he went behind the bushes, right off of Peachtree, and number 2'd.
Number 3.
A homeless man yells something hilarious at him. You're lucky you're white. And then his wife had to give him a koozie that he could, clean
People can
himself.
connect the dots.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
We are still FCC regulated. It's
because he had a cold drink?
That's what I thought.
You're getting warmer, but you're not quite there.
Okay.
So I yelled at my friend Tim Andrews yesterday. At a certain point, you have to say to you certain things in life, okay? You have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, I wish I had a gallbladder and I could eat at fast food restaurants all the time. But I don't and I can't. So therefore, I must change my diet because I'm a grown man. I'm 49 years old. I can't be pooping in the bushes off of Peachtree.
Well, sometimes you have emergencies.
So you are saying that you've changed your diet.
Yeah,
magically.
I don't want that to happen to me again. It's a little, well, I don't care if it's embarrassing, but it's inconvenient at the most.
It's embarrassing to me that one of my Doctrinaires is soiling our fine city.
Don't embarrass me. Don't embarrass the show.
Yeah, so
I was wearing a Dave FM shirt. That doesn't exist anymore.
You should have used that.
You
should have used that instead of that koozie.
Yeah, well, then he would been walking with no shirt on. Uh-oh, Tim Andrews has to go to the restroom. Uh-oh. 49 years old.
Young.
Unbelievable. Now,
49 years young.
You need wellness. We were talking about wellness. And you, Jared Yamamoto, I was talking about Oprah Winfrey. She was in town.
Yeah.
She had her wellness thing. I thought it cost like $200 a ticket.
Right.
I guess these things sell. What is it, State Farm?
It was at State Farm.
They show up all day long.
But The Rock was there too, though. So it wasn't just Oprah.
Well, you're right. Fine. The Rock. He's an actor. What am I pay $200? I mean, The Rock is a fine actor. I have no problem with him. He seems like a great personality. I'm going to pay $200 to have him talk to me about wellness and grief?
Yeah, he's also releasing a new tequila, and he talked about that,
good for him. I'll buy his tequila.
That'll help your wellness.
Yeah, drink a lot of tequila. It works for me.
Get drunk.
Just forget your troubles. But I'll just buy the tequila. So I'm interested in this wellness industry because I don't think you walk out well. I think you walk out super charged up and you're in a good mood about things.
Part of wellness is talking about wellness.
Oh, really? At State Farm Arena?
Yes.
They're not even in the round like Roger Waters.
Listening to Oprah, hoping there's something under our seats.
Yeah, there's nothing under your seat.
The woman's been on a diet for 35 years.
200. Well, she looked good. I saw a picture of her on stage. She looked good, but you're probably well already if you can afford $200 to see Oprah.
Yeah.
But I know you looked into tickets for somewhere else at her.
Her next stop is in Brooklyn, and it's on Saturday, February 8th, and tickets are going for $600 a pop.
$600 to get well.
What a deal!
I got it. $600. Take a vacation. You know what? It's an industry that if you don't mind being a huckster, you can make a lot of money because so many people are looking for something because they don't realize that. Life is magical, but you just have to kind of relax and accept it, Like you have to find magic and wonder in life, but life is also laced with tragedy. Beauty and tragedy, you got to kind of figure it out. But there's no silver bullet. And people want for there to be a silver bullet. If I just get this, if I just do X, Y, and Z, it equals happiness. And it's not real. It can't be found that way. Everybody's going to have good days and bad days. All you can do is learn how to magnify the good times. And the way you do that is by appreciating them when they happen, living in the moment. I mean, how many people, I've said this before, I would love to put a camera, most of these bookstores are closed now, but back in the 1990s, we had both Borders and Barnes & Noble everywhere, bookstores everywhere. And I always wanted to put a camera in the self-help section, because I guarantee you the same people every 4 weeks are going to show up looking for another book, because you read a self-help book, and like I say, just like the Oprah thing, you don't get better, you just get re-energized or something, and then it slowly peters out, and you need a new self-help book, because nobody can teach you how to be happy. It's not attainable in that way. Happiness is, you're bouncing a little newborn baby on your knee, and that's it. I mean, that you just like go, wow, this is amazing. And life is not going to be fireworks and New Year's Eve every day. It's just not going to happen. It's your outlook.
Yeah,
I should
but
be
this
doing
book,
this.
book called "Girl, Stop Apologizing," I think is really going to help me.
Yes.
I read that. It's good.
And then in the midst of this, Oprah is in some sort of scandal. She still has a book a month club, or I don't know, book a year. I can't believe these fans read that many books. Maybe they do.
But
Kindle.
She has a book. She has a book out there. I mean, she didn't write the book, but she falls in love with the book, and then she recommends it, and then that person immediately becomes a millionaire because all of her devotees buy the book. There's nothing better these days, if you're not James Patterson or Stephen King, than having Oprah make your book her book. And I guess this thing, American Dirt, is about Mexican immigrants coming across the border, whatever. And it's look, Oprah is not a Make America Great Again. She didn't recommend a book that's anti-immigration. It's pro-immigration.
Send them back.
It's empathy toward the plight. But now there's a scandal. You want to know why?
Why?
Because the person who wrote it is not Mexican. That's the scandal. Oprah reads the book. She falls in love with it. She says she found it emotionally gut-wrenching. But, these identity zealots, I'll call them. Identity zealots. They are out. I promise you this. I am not saying this to be a shock jock. These identity zealots are out to kill art. Art is an offense to them and their cause. It is not helpful that people with free minds that wander and just have an idea and go with it, that is not good for the identity zealots. I have more examples. I know things that are going on behind the scenes in the art world and how these identity zealots have gotten a hold of it. And I used to think they're going to kill art as collateral damage, but now I know that's the aim. That's what they're trying to do, is to kill art. Not the guy art.
Very funny and doesn't toe any party line.
I've had times I've had to pull over and stop because I was laughing too hard.
This hour sponsored by Zero Res on 95.5 WSB.
Hey, Tim, what is this?
It is a fist.
Who's that on CNN?
Jeffrey Toobin.
Google it. First of all, I have to just Google it.
He likes that old Stallone movie?
Yeah, the Jimmy Hoffa, fake Jimmy Hoffa movie. He likes, I'm just saying, what's this?
Fist.
Who's that on CNN?
Jeffrey Toobin.
Google it. All right, now I know we haven't talked about impeachment yet, and we've been on for almost an hour and a half, but I have to finish my thought about these identity zealots and how they're out to kill art. Not a person named Art, actual artwork. Not crafts, but art. My wife knows a lot of authors in the area, and various levels of published and non-published and people trying and everything. So I know a little bit about the world that goes on there. And there's this thing going on now where if you're white and you're an author, and let's say that part of what you're writing in your fiction is, maybe it's in Native American times or something like that. Maybe you touch on things, and God forbid there are characters that aren't white in your novel. If all the characters are white, you get in trouble for that. But then if you have characters that aren't white in your novel, and then you can get in trouble. So now there's this sort of pre-check thing that goes on, and these hucksters who make money. So basically, if you write a novel, fictional, it's got a Native American in it, what you do before you try to get it published or you make it public with everything, there are these people say, well, I'm Native American and I understand that culture. I'll read your book and let you know everything that I find objectionable in your book so you can change it. First of all, what a racket. What a racket. I'm one Native American and I have the ability to speak for all Native Americans. That may seem ridiculous to you and me, but we're not identity zealots. So if you're an identity zealot, you believe that one gay person can speak for all gay people, one black person can speak for all black people, one Native American can speak for all Native American people. Because after all, the only one thing that matters is what their identity is. And I try to say to my wife, I will lose friends for you if this ever comes up in front of us. Because to me, if you call yourself an author and the act of submitting your stuff to one of these cultural experts to be read before you go forward with it is proof positive that you, in fact, are not an author. An artist. Does Stephen King submit his manuscripts to a coven of witches to make sure that everything...
Well, I want to be like a white consultant. White female consultant. If you're a male author and you're writing about white women.
Yeah, what a scam. You get money, all you got to do is read books. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Who cares?
I got to learn how to read.
Well, that's the first part. You got to make your investment. You got to invest in order to make money. That's what they say. So they're trying to goes to the Oprah thing. She reads a book. Oprah is leftist. She's not far left, but you know that she's on the side. I don't know if she's on the side of open borders, but Oprah has empathy for immigrants. Certainly, there's no doubt about that. She reads this book, American Dirt, and she said it was gut-wrenching, and it's a story about Mexican immigrants. And she recommends it, and they do the tour, and now all of a sudden there's a scandal. Why? Because the author is not Mexican. What the hell does that have to do with whether or not the story is good? I submit, man from the past here, nothing. You either have a good imagination and can write stories, and it's really amazing to me that these people on the left will say things like, a director should have final cut. No one else should decide what's in a movie. And on one hand, and on the other hand, say, well, every author should submit their stuff to, cultural spokespeople to decide. And you see, this is what's happening in Star Wars, Star Trek. No one cares about Doctor Who but me, but it's happening there as well. That's a show that I've loved for a very long time. And the reason is because when you think in terms of social revolution, not the kind of American Revolution we had. We revolted against a king, and then after the war was over, it's like, okay, that's done. Now we have to move on and create but you notice like in Cuba and in the Soviet Union when they were around, in China, the revolution lives and breathes. The revolution always continues and must be continued. In Iran, they have the Revolutionary Guard. We're guarding so that nothing stops the revolution. The revolution, not like the American Revolution where, okay, we did that, it's over, now move on. These kind of revolutions have to live and they have to breathe. And that means they have to touch everything. And pop culture, why do people think about this? Why has all the wokeness gone to the biggest things? Star Wars, Star Trek, in my case, or if you're in England, Doctor Who. Because those are the cultural touchstones. That's where you reach the most people. So a revolution, a social revolution, cannot stand back and just say, oh no, like you should do in all cases. Oh no, that's art. No, we leave that alone. That's up to you. That's no. There's no such thing. When there's a social revolution, there's no such thing that is allowed to be on the sidelines that isn't a part of the revolution. Because anything that's on the sidelines is, in fact, a threat. Because they might come up with some ideas of their own. And they might start talking to other people about that. And then that might go from a minority to a majority. And then the people who have been eating while everyone else starves get in trouble and have their heads cut off by the people. So you got to nip it in the bud, as Barney Fife once said.
Nip it, right in the bud.
People didn't know he was talking about Castro. In fact, he was.
Barney, people are entitled to have their own beliefs.
We got to nip it in the bud.
Okay, Eddie, I hate commies.
Okay, now.
Now, we live in a country where it can't go very far, and you can see it as kind of a fad or a trend or something along those lines. But that's what it is. It's still the same motivation. And that's why none of these people who are against Oprah picking this book have said anything really about whether it's good or enjoyable. And who cares about the fact that if Oprah tells women in the suburbs to read a book that has empathy for immigrants, it might bring people around to your point of view if you're on the left. No, we don't want that kind of turnaround. The revolution has to live in all things. And you're all very lucky that I don't start talking about Doctor Who. I happen to be aware of the fact that I'm the only person in the metro area that cares. But that's been completely destroyed by these identity zealots. So you played this audio for me of Oprah giving in.
Yep.
She's pretending not to give in and be even-handed. So before all this broke out, this book that Oprah recommended, is it a book club, Oprah's book club? Is it once a month, or I don't know what it is. I don't believe most of the women actually read the books. I think they buy them as gifts for each other.
Audio tape.
No, I don't think.
Or book on tape.
I don't think. Yeah.
Tape.
Book on tape?
Yeah.
Where do you live?
You mean like Scotch tape?
Yeah, Scotch tape.
I'm coming.
That sticky stuff that's like clear.
I'm coming to you live from the 1970s on a book on tape. So before this scandal broke out, I'm looking on Amazon.com, American Dirt. So the scandal, Oprah reads this book. It's about Mexican immigrants. I haven't read it, so I don't really know what it's about. It's about Mexican immigrants, and Oprah says it was gut-wrenching, and she recommends the book. Big scandal. Was not written by a Latina. It was written by Janine Cummins. But before Oprah, Stephen King. Extraordinary. Stephen King has sold more books than any other living human being in the history of the earth. Mind you, I said human being. So don't come at me with the best-selling book of all time. Here's somebody. This book is not simply the great American novel. It's the great novel of Las Americas. It's the great world novel. This is the international story of our times. Masterful, says Sandra Cisneros, whoever that is.
She's canceled.
So these are people. So this has got to tell me, I have not read this book. But if Stephen King is reading this book and he's saying, wow, this is great writing. This is a great book. What we should judge a book by is being judged, at least by Stephen King, as great writing. There should be a full stop there. How do you judge a book? Well, you read it, and if it's well written and tells an interesting story, and here's the most important part, you find it difficult to put down. Oh, I got to go pick up the kids. I'll get back to this. You find it difficult to put down. That's it. Full stop. Your review is, that's a good book, based on the only criteria you should be looking at. But now there's scandal because the author's identity, her ethnicity, is not right. That's a criticism, by the way, that has nothing to do with reading books. Nothing. Let's think about where this goes with this identity zealots. Let's think about just how lack of rational thinking that there is, the reason. So the idea here is from these identity zealots is that we are going to achieve unity by division. White people can only write about white people. Black people can only write about black people. Mexicans can write about Mexicans. Now, let me ask you a question. How do we learn about each other that way? Because when you're an author, you have to, if you're going to write about cultures and things like, you have to bring yourself up to speed. You don't want to look like an idiot. You don't look like an idiot. You don't know basic lingo for something or whatever. Or if you're doing a police procedural. You know how hard that is? If you've never... Hey, do you know how many police procedurals have been written by people who were never police?
Unacceptable.
How is that possible? There's actually, if you go into the writing section of most bookstores, you'll find these handy helpers for authors. Police procedural... And you just take it, it's how police talk to each other about everything. So that when you put in your book, which, by the way, your book is a story about people. They happen to be police, or it's about a case. But most of the story, any good story, is about the people. But you don't want to look like a fool. You know, when they walk into a court and they have this brief, you want to have the name of that brief correctly. It's not important to the story necessarily. But it shows you don't know what the hell you're talking about if you do it wrong. So since people who aren't police write police procedurals all the time, and the way they do that is by informing themselves of something they formerly didn't know. How do police speak to each other? How do district attorneys speak to the chief of police? What's the lingo? What is the tension? What are the tensions?
Or just the protocol.
The protocol. Well, if in your story, a culture that you are not a member of, because you thought of the story and it's a great story and maybe you care, well, the first thing you have to do is you have to bring yourself up to speed, just like a police procedural. If you're going to write about a culture that you're not a part of, you got to bring yourself up to speed on that. Isn't that how we get to unity? Faster than only people who look like the characters in their book are allowed to write characters in their book. And that's why I come back to my original point. It's not collateral damage. They know what they're doing. They're out to kill art. These identity zealots, if they get their way, everything will be bland. No one will be triggered. But everything will be bland and gray. Remember, like, the Maoists, everybody had to wear the same bland gray outfit. Was it like a brown? Remember that suit that everybody
like a smock, the Mao suit.
Yeah, everybody in China had to wear the same clothing. That way, no one had anything fancy or cool or stood out. And we made everybody equal. Nobody longs for their neighbor's blouse because their neighbor is wearing the same thing that they are. So on one hand, yes, maybe you've taken care of that problem, but look around. There's nothing to be inspired by. There's no free thinking. Everybody's wearing the same thing. You know that these social revolutionaries are having an impact when things start being, I can only say, grayed out. You know, nothing. You look at a situation like this. The people who put Oprah on the spot are not challenging whether or not it's a good book. But shouldn't that be the only thing a book is critiqued upon? Not who the author is, unless the author just killed somebody and everybody knows, hey, you might not want to give this guy money. He got away with murder. O.J. Simpson.
Hey,
a lot of people
leave me out of this. I don't write books like this.
A lot of people didn't buy his book because I'm not going to give money to somebody I think murdered somebody.
How can we apply this logic to A Million Little Pieces?
Well, no, that was different.
Yeah.
That guy lied.
Right.
That guy wrote a book that pretended that he had been through all this stuff through his life and he'd come back and they found out it was a big lie. That guy's problem was he didn't realize he was a great fiction writer. But at the time, he was trying to go with the trends. That lady just died who wrote the Prozac
Nation.
Yeah, she just died. Rest in peace. She ruined books for a very long time because everything became memoirs from people who I don't give a damn about. So this guy with A Million Little Pieces actually came up with a really good fictional story, but he knew it wouldn't sell. So he pretended it was him and that he was writing a memoir about it. And so that was a genuine scandal. The guy was acting as if something was that wasn't. This is a fictional story. I don't want to go too far on it. We have more things but it's something to look at. You got to beware of people who would forcefully kill art for their cause, for their movement. For the people who are going after Oprah and the writer of this book, They're not saying a lot about the story. So what that means is the story and how good the story is secondary. In a book? Reviewing a book? The story is secondary? And the same thing has happened to Star Wars. They stopped entertaining people because they had a message. A message about, I haven't seen the latest one. The one before was girls can do it too. And, there go those boys. They always want to break things. I have to remind them that the word wars is in the title.
Triggered.
It's not star conflict resolutions. But for the people who turn against that stuff, they would turn against it only because the wokeness goes down or the cause. So for people who like what happened to Star Wars, they don't care that it's not as entertaining. What they care about is that's a big vehicle. Why do they go after Star Wars, the identity zealots? Because it's one of the only things that people who are 7 and 70 love. If you want to get your message across, woohoo! That's a hell of a platform. But what does it have to do with good storytelling? What does it have to do with a popcorn movie? What does it have to do with diversions? Nothing. But from the point of view of identity zealots, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking to correct the wrongs of history. And as I've said before, that's impossible. You cannot correct history. You can't bring justice to history. The only thing you can do is learn from history and apply the things that you learned to the future. But that still allows people to go their own way and have free thoughts and debate about what that should look like. As opposed to, no, we're the identity zealots. The most important thing about storytelling is that our cause, our social movement finds progress in your work. And then after that, if it's a good story, so be it. But we don't really care. So Oprah responded to this. That was a long clip.
Yeah,
but
she put this on her Instagram. This was
see, you know what the world needs? Someone like Oprah to stand up and say, go to hell. I read the book. I loved the book. I recommended the book. If you don't like the book, you don't like the book. But you're not telling me you don't like the book because of the story. You're telling me you don't like the book because of the author. And I'll tell you this. I think Oprah's doing a very bad thing. Look, she's trying to act like I want to have further conversation, which is buzzy word.
It has become clear to me.
Hold on. She took an author that most people had not heard of. She brought her up to the spotlight. I saw him behind me on CBS this morning a couple days ago. Now you can't leave her out there hanging to dry. This is wrong. You're going to take somebody that people don't know because you think that she wrote a masterful book, bring her to the attention of the world, and then when there's trouble, you're just going to leave her out there, and God knows what these idiots are doing with this woman on Twitter. I can just imagine. Because they're all so much better than she is. They just can't seem to write a book as good as her. But other than that, they're a whole lot better than she is. Every once in a while, Oprah, you can get angry. And you can get angry at people that maybe pretended to be your friend. But you brought this author up into the spotlight, and you have a duty not to abandon her out there. Because she probably doesn't even hardly know how to deal with the success of it. I don't know how successful she was before. But she certainly wasn't this well known. We don't have to hear Oprah. It's very long. And she's basically saying, oh, I hear you. I didn't know what your problems are. What's the matter, Oprah? Is there a chance you're going to leave $1.50 on the table? I think you're doing all right. Stand up for art. To all these people who are angry at Oprah because the author of this book about Mexican immigration is not Mexican.
Cultural appropriation, Eric.
Is that what it is?
I guess.
By the way, she is Spanish, right? She's not
from
Mexican.
Spain,
She's from Spain. I don't know if she considers herself a white Latina. I don't know.
Her grandma is from Puerto Rico.
All right, so there is a connection.
Yeah.
But she's not Mexican.
Yeah, it's not right.
You know what offended me a long time ago, and I've been holding it, and now I can bring it out. Do you know that Jules Verne wrote about the future, and he had never been there?
What?
Absolutely.
What?
How shocking.
No.
He had himself never once seen the future.
I'm going to go burn those books.
Had he ever been 20,000 leagues beneath the sea?
He had never once in his life been 1 league Under the sea.
Well, he's canceled.
And no one even knows what a league is. He should be. Can you imagine the audacity of somebody writing about the future who has never seen it? Now, Nostradamus, I let off the hook because he actually saw the future.
And he's French.
He's French, and he wrote in some sort of garbled gobbledygook. But this Jules Verne, I tell you, he's a time appropriator.
You want to know what a league is?
Canceled as far. A league is like I don't know. For some reason, you get on the sea,
It's a depth.
Miles per hour become knots. I know it's a depth because it's 20,000 leagues under the sea.
It's almost it's a little more than a 5K.
By the way, I never read the book. Is it under the sea meaning under the sea bed or just underwater?
Underwater.
Why don't you say underwater? Alan says about the NFL. I think he's wrong.
I think he's wrong.
That would be a future.
We can agree on that.
Yeah.
3.4 miles is one league, nautical league.
Yeah, why do they do that? Why is everything different on the sea?
Well,
why can't it be miles
life's just
per
different
hour?
on the sea.
Yeah, knots. Knots.
Hey, blame the British.
Are they the ones that come up with it?
I think so. They're the ones that dominated the sea for so long.
Until America rose,
That's
baby.
right.
That's right. Take that,
Get back
King
to your
George.
island.
Take that, King George. I'm not going to miss my shot. All right, what are we doing here?
I have a strange open mic for you, Eric.
Okay, what happened? What's going on here?
This listener, we've talked a lot
another
about.
one of my past lovers.
Perhaps
looking to out me on radio.
In the last couple of shows, we've talked a lot about dreams, and a lot on the podcast 32. And this listener,
Well, you had a dream where you just totally nailed my personality. I can't even believe it.
it was to a T.
You
it
knocked
was
me down.
so vivid, that dream. But here's what this listener.
You don't laugh at my jokes. I'm going to jump off the balcony.
and not get hurt.
That nails it. Well, nobody gets hurt in dreams, right?
That's right.
Good morning, Eric von Haessler.
Good morning.
Last night, after 4 years of listening to your show nearly every day consecutively, you finally appeared in my dreams. The dream went that after meeting you and all the Doctrinaires and giving you all a hug, you would for some reason not stop talking about this motorcycle that you drive to work every day. I don't know why I had this dream. I didn't know that you rode a motorcycle, but I thought you should know. Thank you.
First of all, that man is a dream appropriator. I do not. I am not a motorcycle guy. Yeah, you got that wrong. Although the fact that I would just go on and on and on, drone on and on and on about something that you're not interested in if you meet me, there's a good chance. There's a good chance. So I think the motorcycle just stood in as something you weren't interested in that I wouldn't stop talking about. And in that sense, it's fair play. I've been busted yet again. People are dreaming about me and psychologically nailing me to the wall this week. Hour 3 of the Von Haessler Doctrine begins right now. A few other things to rant about.
Eric, you got a second here?
This is Clive Cliverson, my radio guru / consultant, who usually doesn't interrupt me.
Well, usually. Look, I know that's a past.
He's got meetings all day.
Well, I'll text Jared here, but I was listening that last half hour, and in a previous show, I just went, you got. You got the women there with the Oprah and the book and all that. There's 6 or 7 that listen. They've got a little impeachment going on, so I'd like to hear about it.
You're saying I should talk about it, but I'm in my show 2 hours now, and I haven't talked about impeachment.
2 hours, maybe just touch on it.
Something a little local too with impeachment, right?
Who cares about that? You went local with the the lady, the Congress lady. What's her name?
Kelly Loeffler.
Kellyanne Loeffler.
She's very tall. Oh, there she is. Yeah, she's great. I like her. Yeah.
You're saying that it's a talk radio station. I've been on 2 hours. I haven't talked about impeachment.
Yeah, talk a little bit about it. That's all. Hey.
That's all?
I'm just saying.
All right, let's do this.
More headlines for Tuesday, January 28th.
Whatever my guru / consultant says. You know radio, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So come on.
How come you never had a radio show? You're such an expert.
Well, I did overnights for a while, and
I think it's radio
Syracuse, New York. That's good.
I mean, if you're really good at it, wouldn't you have your own show?
Well, I was really good at it, and I decided, well, listen,
shouldn't Howard Stern be a radio consultant? Like, he really knows how to win.
I consulted for Howard. I did. I was the one who taught him to say Baba Booey.
Rush Limbaugh maybe should be a consultant. He built the biggest radio show
I'm
in
the
world.
one who told him to get a gold microphone. I'm the guy with the golden touch.
Okay, all right, but
Call
you've
me
never
King
actually.
Midas
motion forward.
You actually never actually had a successful radio show yourself.
I've had several, yeah.
No, that you hosted.
That I hosted.
Yeah.
Well, see, that wasn't my thing.
Okay.
I was
but you're an expert in telling other people how to have a great radio.
I'll tell you, I wasn't good at putting the carts away and recuing
okay.
them.
It was the details you were.
Yeah, I was good
picture.
at getting the high school girl to come there at night.
You're a big picture guy.
Yeah, I was really good at that.
All right. Did I just open it up? I don't
you
remember
open it up. I have a story about
I don't
Kelly.
hear the things that happen.
Kelly Loeffler's again in the news.
Kelly Loeffler.
She called out her.
Kelly Loeffler.
Yeah, she called out her colleague and friend Mitt Romney after he voiced support for calling witnesses during the impeachment trial. So she's standing up for
You're
Georgia.
calling them out, huh? Anytime, any place. You challenge
Bring
him?
it on.
I'm sorry.
Bring it on.
Mitt Romney, huh? You got to do a duel or something.
Bring it on, old man. I am Kelly Loeffler.
Hey, listen, that's a little ageist, okay? The fact that he's an old man.
Hey,
I'm
I
still
grew up
very
on a
good
farm,
looking.
so
I'm still
I know
very
what
good
it's
looking.
like.
Very, very good looking.
Mitt, you are. You
I'm
are
tall,
good looking.
handsome. I got the dark hair. I suck at salt and pepper.
Kept your hair. What are you, 70 or something?
It's that lifestyle.
That's shoe
It's that
polish.
lifestyle.
I've seen it up
Now
close.
be quiet, bird woman.
Hey, now. She may be new to the Senate, Mitt Romney.
I'm Kelly Loeffler.
Hey, she's Kelly Loeffler.
Well, I didn't know we allowed storks.
I'm Kelly Loeffler.
Mitt Romney, I've never heard you be so cruel.
Well, I don't like being attacked.
Okay, so
Look, we have all the evidence. We need to hear from John Bolton.
You're saying you want to hear from witnesses.
I want to hear what John Bolton has to say.
You know what I don't understand about the whole witness thing? I honestly don't understand. Maybe Bill Crane or Eric Erickson or somebody who really knows what the hell they're talking about could bring me up to speed on this. But when it comes to voting, the senators voting on whether or not to call witnesses, is that a one-time, we're going to have witnesses and then you call them, or do they have to vote on whether or not to call each and every individual witness? Because that surprises me, but they keep talking about a deal, 1-for-1. So you get Bolton, we get Hunter Biden or something along those lines. And I honestly do not know the answer.
It's horse trading. If they'll vote on it at one time, I believe, but you have to, the Republicans have to agree to allow Bolton, the Democrats have to agree to allow Biden.
That's what I'm saying. Together as a package, or do you vote on each one and you get, like, could Mitt Romney say to Schumer, I'll vote for Bolton, but I need to know that we have enough votes for Hunter Biden if they have to be separate, or do we vote on them both at this? I would think you would just vote whether or not to call witnesses, and then each side just calls whoever the hell they want. That's the way it should be, right?
Maybe that's the third option. Maybe you can do all of the options.
Simple majority of 51 votes will allow for, I just read this, will allow for
all witnesses or just one? That's what my point is.
Individual witnesses.
Oh, individually.
You have to do it individually.
Okay, but see, here, I don't think you have to have any deals, because if you're Mitt Romney and you have to go back and face the voters, or you're Susan Collins, or if you only vote for the people the Democrats want, and you're a Republican and you vote against the people the Republicans want, you're going to have to pay for that back home, right? When next time you run for election.
They love me in Utah.
I hear you're going down, going south.
Well, don't worry about it.
Yeah. All right. So what happened? Is this because of Bolton's book? Which, by the way, I read a great opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal when I was down in the men's bathroom down there.
The men's, right?
The men's. Yeah, I'm not like Shaney. We'll call him Shaney X. I just do my business in the men's bathroom. But the Wall Street Journal pointed something out. Bolton can just write an op-ed. They invited him, write an op-ed in these pages and tell us what you said in the book and what you know or don't know. Or Bolton could sit down with a reporter and do a long interview. There's nothing that's keeping Bolton from telling the American people, and he's going to publish this book, and that's going to be available to everybody. So this is all kind of phony. Bolton does not have to be subpoenaed and show up to testify in this impeachment trial in order to let the American people know what he knows. So just write an op-ed tomorrow. Put it in the New York Times, put it in the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, whatever you want. And let the American people know these are the issues. This is what people want to know about. This is what I wrote in my book. This is what happened. As far as I know, there's absolutely nothing keeping him from doing that. Now, he may not have gotten the clearance for the book yet, because that's how the leak apparently got out. I mean, this was probably leaked to the New York Times from the National Security Council.
Or a reviewer. Because they sent versions out to be reviewed.
Yeah, but how could you do that before you got the clearance? Like, the concept of clearance is, this is, okay, we may not like what you wrote, but you're not, there's no secrets or, not going to put anybody in jeopardy in a foreign land. That's why you run it by them, not whether they like the book or not. They just have to look at it and see if there's anything in there that should be classified.
Well, the fact checker is Vin Vin's brother.
Well, is that true?
Yes.
So a lot of this is just theatrics, I think. But they have not given the okay, but now it's out. However, it was leaked, and it was quite opportunistic. Just the fact that nobody watched the Democrats. Do you see the ratings? Day 1, a little high. Day 2, down. Day 3, down. And just the fact that we were getting to that point where probably most Republican senators are going to say, there's no reason. We have the facts in front of us. There's no reason to have witnesses. And then, bam, over the weekend, the New York Times gets an excerpt. I don't even know if I don't even think they got the full excerpt. I think that somebody just told them what was said in it. That's amazing. Remember, Kavanaugh was almost in, and then the allegation right at the last minute. So this is coordinated somewhere by somebody. But it seems to me now that the cat's out of the bag, and we know about this part of Bolton's book, what's keeping him from just going on TV tonight with I don't know, just pick whichever show needs the help. Which one of the three, CBS, NBC, or ABC, is the lowest rated?
NBC is still struggling. CBS is
Lester
doing better.
Holt.
Yeah, Lester Holt is struggling.
I'm Lester Holt.
Yeah, he doesn't have a top lip. I'm sorry to say. I think that's kind of... Look, neither does Reba McEntire. We have all kinds of celebrities that don't have a top lip.
I am trusted.
But it is hard.
And a lot of celebrities have too much top lip.
Well, Mick Jagger?
No, like all of the people getting fillers.
Oh,
like
no,
the
that's
Kardashians
true. Yeah.
The Kim Zolciak.
I gotta give it to Lester Holt. He has not gone that route because he still has no upper lip.
But David Muir is wiping the floor with him, though.
David Muir is. I thought he got replaced. No,
he's
Jeff
on
Glore.
He's on Jeff Glore.
Everybody
is
loves David Muir, huh?
Yeah, he's David Muir is ABC. Now they have Savannah.
He's got to have the right
CBS.
profile, though, right?
Oh yeah,
Clash song. What was that thing? What was the thing with him and his profile? Did somebody find out that he only likes to be shot from one side? He doesn't like the way he looks with the cameras in another way.
It wouldn't surprise me.
No, you told me the story. I thought that he was like he had a thing.
He definitely has a look. The camera shot that's on him is a certain way.
Are you afraid to say he's got a honker?
Yeah, he has a huge nose, and if you don't shoot him in the right way, it looks humongous.
Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't.
People are on TV. They all put on makeup and try to look their best. There's nothing wrong with that. So Jeff Glore was the guy that Jared watched every night.
I thought he did a good job.
He was better than his replacement.
Who's the replacement?
I think it's Savannah.
Was it the new Doctor Who? There's a reason we're playing the Barney Miller thing. We'll get to that in a second. Why are you eating during a show? This is really starting to bother me. This is, I mean, not to the point that I'm going to lose my mind or anything. I'm not going to smack you in the face. But, I mean, you're eating, like, hash browns in the middle of the show.
That's one of my biggest things that I cannot resist is
triggering me.
Waffle House hash browns are unbelievable.
Well, I'm not saying they're not. You always answer something that I did not put out there.
I know.
I didn't ask you.
He should be someone on a politician's side, spinning an answer.
Did I say are Waffle House hash browns good? Hold on. Stay with me. Did I ask you the question, are Waffle House hash browns good? The answer is no. That was not the question that I asked. I said, it's kind of ridiculous while we're doing a show to be eating hash browns off of a plate because it's not like an energy bar or something like that. It's a meal. You're sitting down, you got a plate, you got a fork, and we're doing a show.
Odor.
So, have you ever watched, I always bring this up, does Jimmy Fallon, hey, was there waffles? Hey, I'm not going to wait till after.
I'm not eating it while we're on there.
Jimmy Fallon, you wouldn't do that.
Watch me, I'm Neil Young eating Army waffles.
Yeah, it's not like I'm eating on the air. It's during our wonderful breaks.
It smells like hash browns in here now all of a sudden.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, it's
So what you're saying is you don't like the smell it brings, because if it were just the eating, then also you would not be eating. You're
First of
eating
all, you
your
should be the one who comes to his defense, because you're the one I look down and you're eating, I don't know, some sort of noodle thing.
I am
with chopsticks.
defending him.
It's because we only do a show for 3.5 hours, 3 on the radio and the podcast 30. Just work your day to the point that you can just all you need is like, maybe an energy bar or something like that. But don't sit down with a meal in the middle of a show.
I had to feed my little kitten this morning instead of feed myself.
When you went to see Hamilton, that means nothing. When you went to see Hamilton, do you think the cast was like, oh, wow, look in the backstage eating? No, they saved that for after the show. While Hamilton was being done, everybody's mind was just on, and maybe somebody said, I need a quick energy bar in between acts, and they ate real fast. They didn't get a meal on a plate with a fork.
This is half a serving. This is not even close to a meal.
You are not.
You are extravagant on this one.
I'm not. I'm saying you've got
He's not extravagant.
Do you have a plate?
Yeah,
Do you have a fork?
I'm using one portion of a 3-portion size plate.
What does that have to do with what I'm talking about? I'd be correct if you had more hash browns.
If
you
it
got
were a
just
meal,
enough.
if I had a waffle on it and I had bacon and stuff, that'd be a
the
meal.
only reason you don't is because those weren't out there.
I was tempted. There actually are waffles out there, but I did not. I resisted.
He's not getting my point. My point is that during a show, if you go to see. Let's say that you go to see your favorite stupid EDM artist, whoever that is.
Marshmallow. What if he's eating marshmallow?
Grismello or whatever.
Grismello.
And he's just in the middle, saying, and he goes, ooh, hey, well, he just starts eating.
I've seen an artist actually grab a slice of pizza. Sometimes they're.
What else are they going to do? They could just put it on auto.
Yeah, well, that's a different.
That's right. All they do is press play and then shake their arms in the air.
Auto suck.
That's auto suck. That's all they do. They hit auto suck and then they can eat. Yep. Well, this is not EDM, my friend. What are we doing here?
Talking about Barney Miller.
Oh, well, the reason we did Barney Miller is because my friend Tim Andrews, and he is my friend. I keep my distance, but we are friends.
We don't eat together.
We don't eat together. And he has a podcast called Radio Labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
Is that considered under the WSB family?
No.
No? Okay, I didn't know.
No.
I didn't know. Why? You guys still swearing every once in a while? Things like that?
We swear every once in a while.
All right. Well, so
it's the podcast realm.
I completely disown this podcast, but my friend Tim Andrews is unlike the Power Pod, where they're just clean as can be. They're like the 18s. Remember the 18s?
I do. I say we swear slightly less than one topic. I bet you that's just a string of.
Don't go after Autumn and
I'm
Greg's.
not. I'm just.
You're just trying
giving
to
her a plug.
Okay.
Well, Tim and I are working on a project called Two Topics, which is going to be under the WSB.
Hey, look, you know
then
what?
Eric's new podcast, One Rant.
Yeah. Iron sharpens iron. You need competition. But you have.
I've toned down that we don't do the disgusting comedy.
If anybody is listening,
because I'm not there anymore.
Oh, you don't do that red box thing anymore.
I was far worse than her.
So I thought you got cleaner just by kicking Autumn off the show.
I didn't kick her off the show.
So, she has all that one topic business. You can't do everything. So, anybody who's under my age, maybe you don't know this, but it's a very cool get for you.
Yeah.
So Barney Miller, one of the guys, Wojo.
Ran for 7 years.
Yeah. Wojo.
Yes. Wojo is played by Max Gale Jr.
Yeah, and you do a pop culture kind of podcast.
Right. From a Gen X point of view.
Oh, well, look at that. So you should listen to the Gen X point of view, and then you go to Power Pod to get the millennial point
Max
of view.
Gale?
And then, that's the answer for the Power Pod. And then you go to One Topic where they do nothing but talk about Max Gale Jr. for a full hour.
So we were gonna talk to him for 10, 15 minutes. Ended up being a 1 hour conversation. It's going to be split over 2 episodes.
Is he 105?
No, he's 72, and he's got everything. He's acting. He just won an Emmy for.
He was always my favorite.
General
on that
Hospital.
Show.
He's on that now.
He was always my favorite on that show.
Hey, Barn.
Yeah, he's always chewing gum.
Yeah, hey, Barn.
He wore like a plaid jacket.
Yeah, big Polish guy.
Yeah.
He brought the pot brownies there.
Yeah, I liked him better than Landisberg, who everybody thought was the funny one. Although I thought Landisberg.
I like Landisberg. I met him.
All right, I'm not getting it. Now we got to look at your autograph book.
Oh, I don't have his autograph.
Radio Labyrinth.
I was too young and I lost it.
You get it where all the podcasts are.
Coming soon, Hal Linden.
Oh, that's what you say. You haven't nailed that down. You just have a promise from Max Gale Jr.
Well,
what are you going to do? Do a reunion? It's the Barney Miller reunion nobody wanted? Is that what you're getting together now?
He tells a funny story, Max. He goes, he got an email to be at a 45th anniversary thing. He goes, I guess I should have checked my email sooner.
Oh, he missed it?
Yeah.
Is he like a Luddite? He's not into...
No. He's really getting into He likes the whole pot. He likes to talk and he has questions, and that was cool.
Dropped an F-bomb, I hear.
One.
Well, that's all right. He's an old man. He just has the right to drop
We're
an
all
F-bomb.
adults here.
Yeah, we can all handle it. So, yeah, Radio Labyrinth.
I can't hear dirty words on my precious ears.
Although, well, some people don't like the dirty words. I remember when I was doing stand-up comedy, people would say, Eric, don't work blue. And my response to them, they actually ended up agreeing with me. I said, look, I'm a terrible stand-up comedian. I really suck. I need to swear. And they said, you know what? I've seen your act. You're the exception that proves the rule. All right, what do you have for me?
I actually have a correction. So on the CBS Evening News, it's Nora O'Donnell that hosts
Nora O'Donnell. Was she on Saturday Night Live in the 90s?
That's Nora Dunn.
Oh, Nora Dunn.
Nora Dunn.
Okay.
And then
she ended up doing commercials. I saw her do some commercial for some product that cleans your toilet bowl.
I saw her too.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I don't know to be happy or sad or whatever. I mean, she's got work.
She's in movies.
Work is work.
It's not just toilet ads.
Doing toilet ads. I
don't make it to the movies.
I think that she was on the best cast except for the original.
Yeah,
the best
she was in
cast
that great 90s era with Phil Hartman.
Jan Hooks, who I don't know, she died so young. I think that she lived in the Atlanta area, and I think Jan Hooks was amazing, amazing. And what's his face who got shot by his Phil Hartman?
That's what I just said, Phil Hartman.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Pay attention to
Well,
me.
I can't pay attention to everything. I got 19 plates spinning here.
Men are speaking. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
A guy was speaking, and hey, you know what? It takes a while for guys like me, old white guys, to
Can
learn.
I get you guys anything?
No, we're learning. We'll get it ourselves. I will get my own stuff.
Autumn, we're about to do news. Put on the kettle.
Yeah.
Okay. Put on a strong pot of coffee. She makes a great coffee.
Oh, this one's great.
We did get a really strange Facebook message during the last commercial
Strange,
break.
you say?
Yeah, it said I can see you.
I know who you are.
That's right.
I saw
I know
what
where you
did.
live.
You remember that one? Does anybody remember that? I think they made a movie out of it.
What?
There was a thing. This is back in the telephone landline era, like the 60s and 70s. I think there's a game you play where you call people and they answer and you say, I know who you are and I saw what you did. And you hang up the phone.
Yeah, it was called I Know What You Did Last Summer.
And people freak out.
Yeah.
No, I think it's called that. And it's a story about that. But that's to me the creepiest kind of call. Did somebody give us one of those?
Well, in the last break, Lisa said, did you ever work radio in Pennsylvania?
Me? No, he did. Tim Andrews did.
I know, but there's no context to it. It happened at 11:15.
Well,
did you or not?
What was your radio name? I know they didn't use Tim Andrews.
Tim O'Connor. Coming at you.
That sounds so much more American than Tim Andrews. All right, I opened by hours ago. I talked about the fact that it was important that I let people know, because they obviously don't know, that waving when you're in the background on a television live show, calling your friends on the cell phone, that seems that you don't understand that that's not a big deal. And the reason I brought it up, I mean, it's encouraged on the Today Show, right? You're supposed to show up with your stupid signs and.
I'm from Iowa.
I don't know. Your life is so miserable that that's the high point. Hey, we typed it. Okay. But it was really, 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 really the worst collision of worlds yesterday. One of the best discussions I've seen on television in a long time. And people in the background waving and jumping around like morons with their cell phones because they called Sally, turned to channel whatever. There I am. Look, here I am. Spot the moron. And normally, it's annoying to me even on the Today Show or anything. I think Fox stopped doing it because haters kept showing up.
MPH 45.
Calling them the devil or something. So they stopped doing it. But the Today Show still does it. So yesterday, my favorite daily television show is a show called Speak for Yourself on FS1. Great sports show. Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley, other great cast of revolving, pundits, sports pundits. And I like it because I think it's a little bit like this show. Like, we're based on current events. They're based on sports. But it really ends up being about conversation, and quite often gets to a place of real funny when people who know each other are going back and forth. And so I enjoy it for that reason. And yesterday, now it was the first day, so Kobe dies on Sunday, and yesterday is their first day on South Beach in Miami, live, outdoors, for Super Bowl week. These are two things that sort of, I'm sure it was difficult for anybody, ESPN, FS1, because that's supposed to be party time, and what's the big story? This tragic death. But on this panel, it was just a great conversation, and TJ Husbanzada is he even talked about the fact that he was too stoic, so he didn't break down. But everybody else broke down, and it was real. It was sincere. People were making points, and just like you do in real life, just not able to make it to the end of the sentence. These are people who knew Kobe, one who played with him and played against him in his career, knew him very well. I believe Marcellus Wilder used to do a radio show that Kobe would appear on quite often. Jason Whitlock has covered him. He's been a reporter for a long time. And these are people that, right from the very beginning, the opening, couldn't get the opening out without choking up sincerely. And what's happening in the background? I mean, this real human type of conversation you do not see on television. Guys reaching epiphanies about their life and their attitude and what has to change, not in the world, in themselves, what they see in themselves. I mean, about their children. Just an unbelievable conversation. And what's happening in the background? Hey! Hey, look at me! Look! Hey, call your man. That's me. I'm on TV. It was one of the weirdest clashes of, wow, this is unbelievably human conversation. It's like they should have had one of those scrims you can drop.
Yeah, they should have canceled the people in the background.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to move them away, but you can have a scrim that drops, so you really can't see them. There were times with the camera angle where, I mean, Jim Jackson literally just started crying in the middle of his point. Look at me! Hey, did you see that? And I think, wow, are people that stupid? And obviously the answer is yes. Because maybe they can't hear.
Right, they can't hear.
No, but there's video. They must have video screens, and they're showing B-roll of Kobe Bryant playing basketball. Right. So you have to know, on the day after this guy dies, they're talking about Kobe Bryant. But this is my chance to be on TV! Nah! America, don't be so damn stupid. I hate to break it to you. It means nothing that you're in the background on a television show. Is this really your highlight in life? Yeah, I annoyed a bunch of people who were watching the show. That's your highlight in life? People can't see that there's B-roll footage of Kobe. I got to assume these guys are talking about this guy who tragically lost his life with his daughter and his daughter's friends and his friends. So I guess my public service announcement is, get over it. It doesn't mean anything that someone can see you on TV. What does that mean? They knew you were there. You called somebody who knew you were in Miami. You're a human being. You take up space on the planet. Why is it exciting that I see you through a screen as opposed to seeing you every day in real life? I do not understand that.
Isn't it kind of similar when you see protests break out, and a lot of times there seems to be a lot of hype behind it, like there's a lot of buildup for it, and in reality, there's not a lot of people that are going to come out. But the second people see the cameras, they're like, I'm going to dance in front of the camera. Yeah. I'm here to perform.
Back in the old days in Los Angeles when I kind of knew Kimmel and Carolla a little bit, and they were just starting the Man Show. I can't remember which show they did this on. I don't know if it was the Man Show but there was, or they may have just done it on K-Rock. I can't remember. Oh no, it was. They knew a lot of people in sitcoms and in television, and this was when they were on K-Rock. And so they did this thing where they made a potato famous by getting permission to just put it in different scenes and different sitcoms and different shows. And it really did happen. The potato became famous because it was on television.
That's my favorite potato. Oh, that's my favorite.
And you're no different than the potato. For me, I cannot understand what is exciting about that. I'm calling people who see me all the time, but now you can see me through a screen. Isn't that exciting? Do they think someone's going to see him and go, hey, wait a minute. Before we cast that next TV drama, boy, that guy in the background at South Beach on that sports show, let's give him a contract.
Well, the kind
He's
of
made
people
for
who,
TV.
The kind of people who flock to that kind of thing and then are excited to be there and then calling their friend Sally to see them on the screen.
Yeah.
They're also the people who are too obtuse to realize that they're talking about Kobe. The commentators are crying.
Yeah.
You know?
It really was. It was one of the weirdest, what's the word that I'm looking for? Juxtapositions.
Yes.
Just people, you just don't, that's why I love the show. I mean, you get human, real things that happen. And then these morons. That's why we don't allow audiences outside that window. Because nobody is going to get between me. Oh, Alan, stop it over there. Look, he's waving, he's jumping around, he's on his cell phone. Look at me.
Did you take a video of that and send it to me?
Yeah. Well, so you video him. There he goes. Go ahead. Here we go. Look at, I got this. Look at Alan. Okay, I know. We see you back there behind the window on the radio show. I get it. Nobody cares. They're not going to give you a radio show now. Look at that. God, people are really stupid. I mean, I hate to say it. This is why politicians can, yankle and dankle. Oh, yeah, that guy said that. Yeah, why do you like it? Because I like him. How come you don't like it? I don't like her.
She's ugly.
Just, look at me. I'm on TV. What does that mean? Like, in people's minds, I would like to know, what is it that you've achieved? The people you're calling already know what you look like.
Well, here's an Instagram of me waving, and I'm on TV, and I'm back. You can see everything at once.
Now you got to do something. One time when I lived in Glendale, California, and I was still a Bills fan, and so we would go to this. It was actually a great Bills bar in Burbank, and the guy who ran the bar was a ridiculously over-the-top Buffalo Bills fan, and what he would do, because he was in L.A., he would go on every game show just so he could answer one of the questions. The Buffalo Bills, didn't matter what the question was. And then he would play a montage of him on like 15 different game shows. Now that's a guy, he had a purpose, right? He went on TV to do something. He knew who he was, and he was having fun. But just standing, look at me! Nobody cares. On the reading more about the Kobe Bryant thing, I kind of went there a little bit yesterday, and I didn't want to. First of all, there's a couple of things. So the Washington Post, one of their female writers, tweeted a link to a story about Kobe and what happened in Colorado. And she was suspended. Can someone tell me how they stand by that? She didn't tweet a link to a conspiracy theory. She didn't tweet a link to, something sexist or racist or anything like that. I think it was a Daily News story. She clicked the link to, and listen, that doesn't make the tragedy any less. But Kobe Bryant was a public figure, and that's part of his story. And I don't know how the Washington Post, some Twitter mob just popped up and said too soon? Too soon for jokes, maybe?
Yeah, the reporter's name was Felicia Samanes.
Yeah. Okay, her point of view is she's not ready to, she still holds him. All right, she's turned off by Kobe Bryant because of that. She's a reporter. She didn't say anything slanderous. I don't think there's anything in the tweet that she wrote. I saw the tweet. I don't think there's anything in there that is bigoted or anything like that. She just said, hey, if you want to know the details of this incident in Kobe's life, here it is. She linked another news report that is completely legitimate. And she's suspended based on what? She's a reporter. 95% of the coverage is going to be people in shock and sadness and mourning. There's no room for somebody who says, hey, you know what? This is what I'm thinking about. We can't just disagree. It's not, you could say it's too soon for jokes. I get that. That's a cultural thing. It's too soon for facts. That's the Twitter mob. And then Washington Post gives in to the Twitter mob. We talked earlier, Oprah Winfrey's going to give in to the Twitter mob. I don't know how the Washington Post can stand by that. So in the Me Too era, one of their reporters, this makes no sense to me whatsoever, but I'm sure most of the morons on Twitter think it's a wonderful thing. We'll decide. It's too soon for facts. Look, it's not the whole Kobe story. You can't erase it, though. It's part of it.
She got death threats and doxxed and had to go stay in a hotel.
Of course. Twitter. Yeah, they're for equality and love and peace and harmony. We know that.
Her response,
they're fickle.
Her response tweet was, after she had tweeted the link, like you said, was, well, that was eye-opening to the 10,000 people, literally, who have commented and emailed me with abuse and death threats. Please take a moment and read the story, which was written 3+ years ago and not by me.
Yeah.
Any public figure is worth remembering in their totality.
Exactly. How can editors at the Washington Post disagree with that? I understand how some readers can disagree with it because they're emotional or big fans, or maybe they're not big fans. They just think, oh, it was a long time ago, but it's part of his story. But another thing that I kind of thought off the top, but I think it's true now. You don't want to come off as blaming the victim, and I'm not doing that. But I think Kobe Bryant got way too used to taking helicopters to places, because there are stories now that LAPD got their choppers out of the air because of the fog.
Yeah, there was a lot of grounded helicopter flights that day because of the fog.
Right. And it says
you can't see where the ground is because of the fog.
And it's easy to get confused. That's the thing. And they were on visual. I'm not a pilot. We have pilots around here who can tell you more. But I know that it is easy to get confused as a pilot in certain conditions. And the thinking right now is that he was confused. Obviously, he thought he was higher than he was, or he wouldn't have been going that fast where he was. But, Los Angeles is hard to get around and everything, and I understand that. And Kobe was known for the helicopter thing. He did a Ghostbusters. Remember when the Ghostbusters female reboot, and they had all the different celebrities? Kobe's was taking the helicopter, and he gets out with the Ghostbusters pack and everything. I mean, I just wonder if this pilot had been around for a long time. He's the same guy who piloted him to his last game with the Lakers. So you would think that they would have a relationship and know each other to the point that the pilot could say, no, we just can't do it today. It's not. Sometimes you have to fly, you have to go places. But this was a high school. I keep reading different things, if it was a practice or it was an actual game. But this is something that could be missed in order to live. And I just don't think I think it's a good idea to get into the habit of always using helicopters. Those conditions that were described, if LAPD pulled their choppers out of the sky, that means that we wouldn't have had our chopper in the sky on a day like that. And I just wonder if maybe sometimes celebrity can hurt you and people won't tell you no. Now, I got to believe the pilot, that's his life in his hands too. That's why we trust any pilot. They can't get out of it. When we get on a plane, we don't know the pilot, but in the back of our mind, we're like, well, the pilot wants to live, so they're going to do everything they can to make me live, right? So that goes against it, maybe the pilot, but they got special clearances. They were in the air when other choppers were not in the air. And boy, everybody wants to be a celebrity, but sometimes you can get your way maybe too often. And I'm saying maybe. I'm not saying I absolutely and totally. But that was my notion at first. And now the more that I read, LAPD pulls their choppers out of the sky, but you're given special clearance because you have to get to a high school basketball game? I wonder if the celebrity got in the way there. Somebody should have said, no, we're either going to miss it or it's going to take 2 hours to get there or something like that. It's tragic, but, you can't... I just think that maybe he's relying on helicopters to, to go out and get milk or something. You just don't. There's too much. You get too comfortable. Well, anyway, the music says we're done on the radio side, but we're not completely done. We're going to go over to the Podcast 30. You can join us over there if you want to. You can go to the Von Haessler Doctrine Facebook page or the WSB Radio Facebook page. Click the red box. Voila. Podcast 30. We have impeachment stuff. People can go WSBradio.com and the app if you want more impeachment. All impeachment all the time. Thanks for listening to the Von Haessler Doctrine podcast. Remember, you can hear the show every weekday from 9 to noon right here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Look at me now. I got my Huggy Bear hat on.
Not big enough.
Well,
Or plaid.
Was Huggy Bear Starsky and Hutch or Beretta? Because Beretta had a pimp too.
Yeah, Starsky and Hutch though.
Who was Beretta's pimp?
I don't remember.
Probably the guy he hired to kill his
Loretta's
wife.
pimp?
Beretta's pimp.
Hey, man, I didn't do that.
I know. Tim Andrews is here.
I was a little rascal.
J-Rad, rocking the tunes. It's Tad Tuesday.
Hi.
Tad Lemire is here. He's a B98 point whatever.
5.
Huh? Autumn Fisher.
Hello.
Autumn Fisher is with us. I don't know. We're on good terms, aren't we, Autumn Fisher?
Yeah.
Hey, what happened
steps?
What happened with the Overstock people? They just stopped getting in touch. You said, "Hey, how do we return this thing?" And then they just stopped sending emails. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
The
you
only emails I get 3 emails from Overstock every day about, did you use your 17% off coupon? No.
Yeah. Will you forward me your last email?
That was the one you got. The one that you sent out to them saying, okay, now we're waiting for you to tell us.
All right.
That's the last thing I have.
I'll get back in touch.
Did you order something?
No, this is about my desk. It all went wrong.
Everything's gone wrong.
I get so angry. Things go wrong.
One of our sweet listeners, actually, I forgot to bring this up when it was more relevant. One of our sweet listeners.
One of the sweet listeners? Was she a member of the band Sweet?
Her name is Edie, and Tim knows she's a huge, super fan. In fact, we probably should do something for her. She's a super fan.
What are we going to do for her?
I don't know
Bring
yet.
her in and interview her about her new book?
I haven't thought about it yet, but she's a sweetheart.
I'm very happy. Thank you.
She was at her apartment complex, and she noticed next to the trash that there was a big piece of glass and sent a picture to me. She DM'd me about it and said, "Hey, I can bring this to the station, and that way you guys have that way you guys can put it on top of Eric's."
Well, did it look like something that would work in that way?
I mean, it was a little used.
The answer's no. I think.
I know. I'm just saying it was a nice gesture. Nobody else.
It's a nice gesture, even if we can't use it. It's still a nice gesture.
Yes.
She was thinking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a half-eaten Pepperidge Farm cake I was thinking about dropping out.
You know what happened? I replied to them, but it replied to you only instead of to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so you sent that to me, not them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
What I have you on the job for?
I can't get into you need to send me your username and password to your email so I can get in.
Yeah, I don't like that idea anymore.
Oh, come on. It's never gone wrong
This
before.
is how I found all those pictures of me and Joe Rogan from 2003. I have everything in there. You could probably go in there and find things where I'm saying bad things about you to Greg or something.
I don't
2006.
Do that. Were you and Joe Rogan clothed in those pictures?
We're both clothed.
Yeah, just wondered.
Not that we.
Hey, man, you want to get nude? All right.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you something.
One of those, those deprivation tanks.
I'll tell you this.
Ayahuasca.
He's aged a great deal since then.
Not you, though.
No, not at all.
Everybody's getting so old.
Are you depressed, Tad?
He used to have hair, right? Now he's he shaves it off bald.
He's wearing a backward. Wearing a ball cap. I
You
think.
see him without a cap on his podcast, and he has no hair.
Now this is 2003.
Shaved. Oh yeah.
By the way, whatever happened with that? I remember that Joe Rogan was one of the people. Tim told me I should call Larry, but this is the question I should ask him. Joe Rogan was one of the people who, when he came around from time to time, was kind of a friend of the show. There were people who knew the show.
Yeah.
Jeff Garlin, Tom Rhodes, Joe Rogan. There were people that we'd have comedians in, but then there were those that were
and Rogan would bring Shafir and all those guys.
Yeah, knew the show and knew where they were going.
Yucko Klein.
Please. and then all of a sudden, because in that picture I can see that we're we're being friendly. It's not like we're not standing stiffly next to each other like he was on the show today. He'd come through to do comedy, right?
Yeah.
So, but I remember that Joe Rogan was one of those guys that was kind of a friend of the show when he was on the show. And then all of a sudden, he was never on the show again. And all I was told was somebody doesn't like him that maybe Larry know. And it was like somebody else's beef with Joe Rogan became our beef with Joe Rogan.
Spilled
but
over.
Had nothing to do with me.
Was
suddenly he just was not there anymore.
Was it that comedian who came out and he didn't want to talk about it? And then...
No. That would be the other way around. That would be like comedians turning against us.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about Todd Glass.
Yeah.
Who would not accept. That was weird. That was weird.
Well, I spent 2 hours with him on the phone. He accepted the.
I don't know. He was a little over the top.
I understand.
Maybe he's calmed down. He was a guy who was. Do you know Todd Glass? He's a comedian. He's a guy who was in the closet for years and years, and came out of the closet, and then everybody had to like say only exactly the things that he wanted said about. It was offensive to me. It's like,
what year was it?
I'm not a homophobe. Don't treat me like I'm a homophobe.
2011 or 12.
And I remember having conversations down the hall. My partner was a little,
Do you want to kiss me? Do you want to kiss me?
Whatever. Come on. It's show business. But they took it so personally. And he's like saying, 15-year-olds are killing themselves. Like, whoa, man, you're not going to throw that on me.
But somebody got mad at Rogan, you were saying? And that's why we didn't have
Somebody got mad at Rogan, and then we suddenly were mad at I had never had any idea. People would just be friends of the show, and then they would just be gone. I'd be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that kind of thing happened.
You're right.
That happened to me.
It happened to Autumn. I said I knew Autumn, and I knew why that happened.
Right.
Chris Hardwick was another one.
Well, Chris Hardwick, because
we used to have him on. Yeah, he was a good guest. I don't know that he was a friend of the show, but we had been out in L.A. I think he knew. And that was another one where somebody else didn't like him. Some beef got cooked up by somebody else. I don't know what that was.
Isolate
no,
that.
Don't.
Mark
Get
the
it,
time.
Jared.
I'll tell you what happened.
I know. I'm one third sleaze.
I know exactly what happened with that.
What happened?
He was left on hold, and I kept saying, he's ready, we have him. He goes, I don't care. And so we had to go back and tell him that he...
we used to do that too.
So he
Power
got bumped,
struggle,
and he got mad,
right?
and he was yelling at Deborah.
Yeah.
And then we booked him again.
And we bumped him again.
And he got bumped again.
Is this Todd Glass?
No.
No,
This is Chris Hardwick.
Oh.
And he was a great guest.
He's a great guest.
I mean, but I still
There
don't...
was no, what did we bump him for? Were we doing mic'd up for the 19th time that month?
Spite, I don't know. But then, but the thing with Rogan, I don't remember. We had him. He was always really good. The last time he was there, he brought Ari in, and he was a lot of fun, and he invited us all to hang out with him at the Punchline, which I did.
Yeah. Well, I had another comedian invite me out to the Punchline, and then it was terrible. Patton Oswalt.
Oh, well, yeah, we were there, and he blew you off.
I never go to these shows. Never go to shows.
He was mean to you?
No, he just blew you off.
Just treated me like
dirt.
Yeah, like
you were at a photo shoot,
non-existent,
like a publicity
like I
photo
was some
shoot.
kind of fanboy.
Right.
I never would go. I'll tell you this about stand-up comedy. I think that there are about 15 people in history who have ever done it great, and those are the people I'm interested in seeing. If you're not, this is just me. If you're not over the top, one of the best stand-up comedians, it's kind of not my form. Like I feel weird.
It makes you nervous.
No, it just feels weird. It's like disembodied face up there with a light and like 2 hours.
I thought it made you nervous because they were if they were going to suck.
Yeah,
and you
I
like,
wanna
feel
be
this
part
sort of
that.
pressure to
There's
laugh.
There's that. The whole thing. But I never would go to. But I was a fan of actually not really Patton Oswalt.
Brian
You were on
Posehn.
Pat, the other guy that was on Mr. Show.
Brian Posehn.
Brian Posehn.
The guy that kind of And so I struck up a conversation with both of them. And this it was a Friday, and before they left, this is really what it was like. It's like, man, you really should come down. No, we'll have a really good time. You should really. This is not saying, hey, come by, we'll get you in.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't usually go to these things. Man, you should really come down.
We're going to have a good time, insinuating that you're going to spend some time like after the show.
Yeah, and I don't want anything. I don't want anything.
You didn't ask to come down.
I have to me, celebrities are just like everybody else. Some are really cool, some aren't. Most are just whatever. I do not.
But it was a passionate invite.
Come on. I felt like I would be a douche if I didn't go.
Sure.
Put it that way.
Yeah, they made you feel.
So I went and sat up there in that area up there at the old Punchline.
That weird balcony thing.
Yeah. And then the first guy from Mr. Show was nice. He wasn't a jerk at all.
Hey.
He wasn't a jerk at all. So then Patton Oswalt is done, and he's coming up afterward. And I go to shake his hand, and he goes, hey, man, I was up all night. I'm really sorry. I can't, I just got to get back to the hotel, and I got to,
Do more
coke.
He didn't remember you.
Here's the thing. No, he knew who I was. He was trying to get out. He's like, oh, the radio guy. And what annoyed me is I'm not one of those people. Don't treat me like I'm one of those people who gives a damn about celebrity or somehow I want to be around you or...
Okay,
that was the offensive part was that I'm one of those people that gets my validity because you're going to spend time with me. It was just a total, almost like fish, loose hand. Like, I don't have time to be bothered with the likes of you. Like, I would rather be home.
Okay, hold on. Now, Eric,
no, it's not what you think, Autumn. Autumn, it's not what you think. No, this was not like that. It was not like that. It was
because someone has the right to say, I have been up all night. I'm traveling.
If
I
he
gotta
was
go
up all
home.
night and traveling, why did he say so passionately?
Because he felt good in the morning. Because he was like, I don't know, he was on a different time zone or something.
It wasn't 3 minutes of talking that came up. It was as I shake his hand. I don't have time for people. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a way to do that.
He invited you. He invited you. He. It's like,
maybe
come over for dinner tonight. You show up, and you're like, I don't really feel like making dinner.
Yeah. You open the door. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I just closed the door in your face. But the part that I didn't like was, don't treat me. There's a lot of people in radio who love reflected glory. I'm not one of them. I don't care. I'm not envious. I'm not jealous, but I don't care.
You sure you didn't dance in front of the camera too much in the background?
That's what the background. He knew.
That's what it was.
I tell you, that's better experience than getting up in the middle of the not the headliner, but the middle guy, the whatever feature.
Yeah.
And go to the bathroom. Again, at this old Punchline. I get up. No one's upstairs. I go to the bathroom. Turn to my left. There's Jim Norton sitting down with his hand on the back of a woman's head.
Oh, my.
What?
Oh, he's a dirty,
By the way,
dirty guy.
Her husband was downstairs waiting and was cheering it on.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing. But it was disconcerting to walk in on.
Consenting adults.
Let me tell you this.
It was disconcerting.
Let me tell you this.
So he was just petting her, is what you're saying.
Let me tell you this.
There, honey.
When you're out there on the road as a comedian, it gets weird.
Of course it
and
does.
if you're Jim Norton.
Oh, good for him. I'm not.
I always liked Jim Norton.
Why not?
Oh, I do too.
Jim Norton was always cool.
Do you know his stories? Do you know his sexual crazy?
Yellow Discipline. He has an album called Yellow Discipline.
Oh my God. He likes to be the sponge rather than the faucet.
Yeah. Well, they would get into some of that stuff on Louie when they'd be having conversations.
Oh, he likes to turn regular masseuses. Like if he likes to try and he likes
to turn them
work
into
them
sexual?
over for months and months to turn it to get them to do something.
Well,
they're
hey man, that's his thing. He was always cool. I always found Jim Norton to be very cool.
I'm not. He talks about this openly.
Okay.
I'm not discreditating him.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. I'm grateful that he's open about it because I want to hear every detail.
Well, I know you're a sicko.
Yeah.
A bit of a sicko. A lovable sicko.
I've forgotten what he looks like.
Lovable sicko. That'd be the name of the show.
When you look at Jim Norton, you can tell that he would be. He looks a bit psycho.
We had the Love Master on, and he talked about relationship.
No, I know what you want.
I know, but dude,
I'm trying to include you.
What? You're
don't.
not.
Yeah, what's wrong,
it's all
Ted?
right, man.
Ted, are you down about something? What's going on?
I'm listening. I'm involving myself in the conversation.
Okay,
I've asked a couple of pointed questions. Have I not?
Yes, you have.
He's been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. Come on.
Hey, Eric,
I'm
I
just
really don't have
enjoying
time
myself.
for this podcast. I've been up for a long time.
They had a big contest this morning. How'd Drax do?
What did they have?
They had a big contest, and there was some
they tried to
contention
win
with Drax.
money, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag.
Did he win?
Are you leaking air?
No, I heard it on the radio.
I am leaking air. A lot of air leaks when you go after Tad like this. It's funny.
I'm curious.
I'm not going after Tad.
Neither am I.
I would never go after Tad.
If you were
Y'all
single,
don't
I would.
listen to my radio show. We don't
How
give
can
away
I?
flowers.
How can I?
You don't even know. You know not what you're talking about. You
Sometimes-
don't even know the call numbers of the station.
Sometimes when I'm in the getting coffee, your radio
You
show
don't
is
like
on.
You don't like pop radio. That's
Love
fine.
pop radio.
No, you don't.
Love it.
Why don't you just meet me in the middle?
Let me tell you, Taylor Swift. anything.
And they played
Love
Nickelback
it.
this morning.
Play is gonna play.
Play
Play.
Too hard.
I've never heard that song.
Duh.
There's a rap in
we
it.
play Ambrosia. You know,
Oh.
we're playing Little Restless Heart.
Remember when Ambrosia used to complain because they were really hard rockers, but they were known as softies? Do you remember that period of time? It's like, we really like to rock.
Yeah, we followed up with a little Leo Sayer. You know how it is.
You make
Don't
me feel like dancing.
I'm gonna dance the night away. So you would only play bands or solo artists that have perms.
Yeah, exactly. Air Supply.
All by myself.
So you
Eric
guys
Carmen,
think
do
that
wanna
B98.5 is
that
the
Carmen?
radio station that you used to listen to
Right-winger
in
now.
the 80s in the dentist office. And it's just not that, but you have dismissed
Baby,
it.
baby,
Because
I'm
you said, all right,
taken
this is
with
my idea of what this
notion.
radio station is, and you've moved away.
From what?
From listen, you don't give it a chance. You don't listen to it. You don't know what it is.
I'm getting ready for this show. When you're on,
You're describing, when you guys describe my show or my radio station,
Yes.
you're
Here
describing
once.
Steve and Vicky.
Twice.
really?
Oh, Steve.
3 times.
Well, maybe
a
not
lady.
Steve.
Wait, but hold
Vicky.
on a second, pal. You've only been in this town. Will you shut up? You've only been in this town a few years. To put yourself up there on the pedestal
Oh,
with Steve
Steve
and
and
Vicky.
Vicky.
Yes.
You know what?
I
That's
know.
a little.
You don't
that's
even
a lie.
deserve to
That's
lick
a lie.
their boot.
I'm sorry.
How
I'm sorry.
dare you? How dare you?
One of my
dare you?
favorite radio stations is
shouldn't be
WSB
here.
FM HD2, which is
dare
the
you.
other side of B98.5.
Excellent station.
It's damn good.
Yeah.
It's
What
like
is it?
all of those. It's
Nobody
like
has an
yacht
HD
rock.
radio.
There's one in the
Oh, I
closet.
love Yacht Rock.
There's
One
one
in the
closet
closet.
with the lights.
You can listen to it on the website too, right? The other side thing.
Remember when Remember they tried to get people to go to? I don't know. I worked at Clear Channel at the time, and they had this big push to get people to buy HD radios.
Oh yeah. That was how they were competing against satellite radio.
Yeah, I love that. And then this is how.
Yeah, I
dumb-
want to hear Little River Band in HD. It's very important.
Well, it's almost like they're in your living room with you.
Friday night, it was late. I was walking you home. We got down
is
to
all
the
great
gate,
music.
and I was
I wish we
dreaming
played this
of the
music.
night.
This is how dumb radio people are. Radio people are this dumb. First of all, when satellite came along, it was not that much of a threat. There were not many. There were not percentage-wise that many people that were paying for their radio. And then I don't think it was Clear Channel. One of them. Remember when Stern left and went to satellite, and then they had for a little while they had David Lee Roth on the East Coast and Adam Carolla
That was Clear Channel.
on the West Coast. All right, and they called that free radio. It's like, dude,
Free FM.
nobody knows about the pay. They were responding to all their fears of what was happening. The audience had no idea about free or pay. For the most part, they just turned on their radio the next day the way they turn on the radio. Free radio.
Well,
it's like, you guys don't know. You have your heads completely up your behinds.
The thing that drove me nuts about, because
Somehow
I was
it didn't
working
work.
for Clear Channel when, iTunes and Pandora and all this was coming out, and I swear, that company is run by some idiot nephew of whoever runs the thing, and he's like, Dad, I think we should stop identifying our radio station. We should be more like them. And it was like idiotic.
Yeah.
Like you are because you're so fearful of these mediums that just play music that you don't want to talk. You're like, we have to be just like them. We're going to stop identifying ourselves.
Yeah.
We're just going to play. We're going to become a jukebox.
We're your
And it's like,
playlist.
you guys are. You have one thing that you can do that they can't do, and you're not doing it.
Personalities.
Right.
That's
Personality.
Exactly, that's exactly.
And then they hire one person for a huge region.
Yeah.
And so there's no connected feeling to the person behind the microphone.
dumbass.
there used to be.
Rover. He was the Midwest guy for that.
Yeah, and they call it progress. They call it innovation. It's
No,
saving
they call
money.
it making
It's
more
driving
money
it into
for the
ground.
shareholders.
Yes.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You have to make more money for the shareholders. My argument hasn't been don't make money
At
for the
its detriment?
shareholders. No, my argument is work harder. You actually need to, radio used to have scouts. They would find you if you were really good on a night shift in some market 105 because they you know what? Let's get this guy. Let's put him on midnight. Let's see what he does in market 35. But you had to, you couldn't just be told what everybody else is playing and play it. And how hard is it to tell people to speak less? It makes you a leader,
Right?
But if you actually
Less is more.
You actually scout talent. And then groom them, make them better. That takes work.
What
You have to
year
work
was
hard.
that?
Same thing I say to these people here. Work harder. There's more than erectile dysfunction doctors out there. You just have to work harder.
If there were more companies, there'd be more competition. But there aren't. So
More
you have
radio
three
companies?
that set the ad rates. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
When were the scouts calling? Because I can't tell you how many nights or the Night Slammer.
Hey, we're gonna call you up
on
buddy.
WCTK in Providence, looking for that hotline to ring. Or
Well, a program director's job. A program director's job.
Hello, Houston. Is that you? Now I was wondering if you could play a request.
In the old days,
same person that spoke to you last hour.
if you were a program director in a top, say, 30 market, you knew program directors and you had a network that went all the way to 140, and people would bubble up. Talent would bubble up. And if somebody was good, then you take them out of his lower market. Maybe they're on noon to 4 in a market 107. So you put them on 10 to 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. in a larger market, see if they have what it takes. But like athletes, you see, okay, do they have what it takes? It seems like they got a big market possibility, but you have to work hard for that. Right. And then you have to coach, and you have to be a good coach. And you got to bring them from the minor leagues to the major league, and you got to make all that happen. And now technology made it easier to do. And so I used to be really mad at most of the program directors in my life. And then I realized I'm expected, they're just scared as hell. Mm-hmm. They're in town. They got a kid in high school going to college. They got a house. They got a mortgage. They're just scared as hell. Once I realized that in music, I'm not saying this about your station or here. I'm saying at the time, the realization I came to was they're not program directors the way that you thought of program directors when you came into radio. They're, because I was somebody who wasn't in radio, who was brought in. The program director is one guy who's kind of like, if you're in restaurants, he's the regional manager, and he decides. And probably he doesn't even decide. Like the guy who owns the damn company now is deciding.
The format leader.
And I really just sort of lost all my anger when I just started looking at my program director in music radio as he's just a guy who's 47. He's scared. He doesn't want to lose his job.
We're
he's gonna
all
do what he's
scared little
told.
children.
Yes, we are. Are we not?
We're all scared little
You guys are so lucky to have a bold leader like myself. Somebody
Wow.
bold enough. Somebody bold
Coattails.
enough to throw it all away.
Right.
To throw it all away for no good reason.
Multiple times.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Don't need it.
I should be a multi-millionaire by now. All the times. If I could have stayed on the air.
Yeah, you'd be making what, $20 million a year instead of $5.
Yeah. I should be really rich. You should be really rich too.
Why would I be rich?
I bet you Tad's richer than me.
If I were rich, I'd be in a gutter.
Yeah.
Well, they printed that
wanna be
Cadillac
rich.
Jack's salary.
Oh,
on
that's why.
AJC.
Let me
So
tell
if he's
you
any indication, I'm doing better than all of you.
You know what? Do you know what? Yeah, you're making more than that.
I saw that. I was like, what
I
the
saw
heck?
that. I saw that, and I said, I know why you're suing, but I think they just found a reason because you were making too much money for what you were doing. I mean,
Easily.
I like that guy. I have friends. I mean,
What is this? I'm sorry. Can you fill me in?
Cadillac Jack, who worked at Kicks. Was that
That's
down
right.
the hall?
Yeah. That's right.
And with Dallas, who was the person who gave me my cat. Worst cat I ever had in my life. Sorry.
Dallas, you can't even give the cats.
No. So I got along with him quite well. And Jen was doing afternoons there toward
Hobby,
the end.
yeah.
Jen Hobby. And so we used to talk all the time. We were friends. So Cadillac, well, a couple of things. Is he maintaining, am I right about this? He's saying discrimination.
Saying that he had to deal with untoward comments and discrimination because he's bisexual.
Which I did not know. I didn't know he was bisexual when I was there.
Probably because he didn't say anything until it was worth $400,000.
Okay, that's I
Woo! Commentary.
He was always very nice to me, and I don't want to look. Go get your money, man.
Before
I'm
Cumulus took over that station, and the Dickies who were running it at the time said, "Oh, we're playing too much new music," and destroyed it.
Yeah.
He earned that money because Kicks was number one. But they destroy everything they touch.
Oh, is that what happened?
Oh yeah, they ruined
It's
that
still a lot of
station.
money
That
when you're
checks
playing
out. That checks out.
songs.
Those
though.
companies.
When you're playing songs. I don't.
But
whatever.
they were the top billing. I mean, they
Okay.
were in the top 5 consistently, and then
Did she retire, Dallas? Or is
I
she
don't
still
know
on
where
the
she
radio?
is now.
So he's maintaining that, and then but Rodney Ho printed his salary. Am I wrong? It was like $400,000.
It was exactly 400,000.
And let me tell you something.
Rodney Ho, who, by the way, printed all of our real names in the AJC.
Well, I go by my real name.
I go by my. He even pointed out that I spell my name with 1 D, even though it's 2 Ds. Like, But if you have a fake name on the radio, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
You get busted for something ridiculous, you could just kind of fly under the radar.
Yeah.
So, but he printed them all, so now we know everybody's real name. Nick?
What was?
I mean, you might as well. Your name is an English Nick.
What is Cadillac Jack's real name?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it, so it's in there. So I guess he printed it because it was public because he decided to bring this
but
public.
Just still kind of, I don't know.
Hey, speaking of my name.
I will tell you this. That article is going to be in my file folder, my folder that I bring in when it's time to
negotiate
my next contract.
Yes.
Because that guy's playing
music. We don't
music.
even play music.
Right. I got to fill all this stuff up. I brought ratings. You know what? I was too good. I quickly out of the box. This show was too good for its own good.
This station never played music, though.
I know, but it's all about ratings. And I just made a mistake early on.
You started too low?
No, I'm not talking about my money. I'm talking about that we came in and basically this show, there's no doubt about this. This show was the last thing that knocked the other talker off the air. Now I have no leverage. Like when it comes to time for negotiation, they're going to look at me and go, "Where are you going to go? GST?
Hang on, what about
you better get off the air before the sun goes down."
Our old buddy the Kimmer's starting something new. Maybe you can go there.
Yeah, I'm sure they got lots of money.
Hey, speaking
of
my
some crazy billionaire that's backing them though.
I don't know if he's a billionaire, but
I'll take his money. I'll take your money. Hey man, I'll take your money.
Tab mentioned real names. My old namesake, British broadcasting legend Nicholas Parsons died this morning at the age of 96.
Wow, you're bringing me down. But 96, that's a good run.
But hey, so now it's only me now flying the Nicholas Parsons flag.
Hey, it's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
I'm sure he retired like 20
No,
years ago.
he had a radio. I didn't notice. He had a game show on the radio. That it celebrated his 50th anniversary in like 2017 or something like 2007.
Yeah.
He'd been doing this forever. I knew him for the game show on TV, Sale of the Century.
Yeah, it was on here too, but I didn't like it.
That was a good show here.
Was it?
I liked it.
Nicholas
Parsons.
Parsons.
I didn't like the set.
Is your
or
name
something.
even Nick?
Yeah.
Okay.
My real name is Nicholas Parsons.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Nicholas
I wasn't
Parsons.
sure. I was like, oh, you named yourself after this guy?
No, his real name is Aloysius.
There's some people around here who think
my real name is Rebecca.
British
Isn't that Elvis
Irish
Costello's
Dave,
real
I
name?
get
It's
lost.
Declan McManus.
yeah, but his middle name is Aloysius.
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 Aloysius?
Aloysius.
If I have my time again, I call myself Irish Dave because everybody thinks I'm Irish Dave.
Are you Irish Dave?
No, but people they mistake me. And it's like, hey, you're
That's
Irish
what they
Dave.
call me, Dave Baker. I'm Irish Dave.
The poor tour groups, they still come by and they'll occasionally I'll be sitting at my desk out there and they'll start describing 97.1 The River and they start talking about Nick and when he's in there and he's that's British Dan and he's based in Athens. And it just
I've told that woman
it
many
just could
times.
not be more like where
Do
is
they
that
get
come-
my name correct now? I mean, she used to call
or in
me
here,
Eric Van Haessler.
You
said
No,
there's
it was Van.
Von
He lives in a
Heflin.
van.
Von Heflin.
Yeah, because she's so old. There was this actor who was in everything because I watched TCM all the time named Van Heflin.
You know,
And that's in her head.
one thing they got wrong was they walked by here one day, somebody said, after calling me British Dan or whatever, that's Eric Von Haessler, but Neil Bortz used to be in this studio, but he passed away.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Somebody told me that was said.
You should hear the things that are said on the tour are mind-boggling. These are tours of our, we should be involved. I've gone to our boss before, and I've been like, just so you know, they don't know what they're talking about.
That's hilarious. So basically, if you want to if you want to walk away knowing less about WSB, take the tour.
Take the tour.
Wow.
Take the tour.
The fantasy tour.
But you should feel good because WSB is in their mind. They don't even know what these radio stations are doing.
Older, right.
They're like, this is WSB, the great WSB.
Well, it's true.
They
Rush
do.
Limbaugh, he's on tape right now. That's
Yeah, they'll say that,
No,
or
he's
they
not.
recorded
He's not
their
on
thing.
tape.
The reason there's nobody in there is they pre-recorded their show. I'm like, no, the
not.
reason is they're in the bathroom.
Not only did she say that I was out of Athens, she said all of us were doing the river out of Athens. Yes. What the hell? There's live bodies in there.
People are paying money for this.
Wait a minute. How in the world would they get that out? Did we ever? We had another station.
Yeah, the
that did come
country
out-
station
came out of Athens.
Yeah. That's very confusing.
That's still on the air.
Yeah, but it's only on one frequency now.
That's like our minor league, right? We get like management folks come from Athens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Athens is a great little. It's our AAA.
Yeah, our new social media person, Heather, came from Athens, right?
Yeah.
Charlie came from Athens.
Yes.
I think if they're going to make up stories, though, we should write a whole narrative. Be like, that's Tim Andrews. He murdered a couple of people. You know, in the back, you see those columns? They're in memoriam with all the killers.
Yeah, just make a great fantasy story.
Right.
That's April Jones on the screen. She's doing her show from England.
That's right.
April.
Jerry Yamamoto is a producer and a wizard.
Right. How about it?
I'm sorry I brought up that stupid poster. Why do you like that? It's disconcerting, Autumn. It's weird.
Oh,
she's
my
not
calendar?
attractive. It's weird.
That's the point.
What's the point? It's weird. It's like
She's
not
trailer
pretty.
trash Tammy.
She made that boob shirt, right?
Yes, she made my boob shirt that I love.
Oh wait a minute, you know
well, she
her?
didn't make it. No, she's just a personality.
Of what?
Really
I've never seen her.
She was she started on Vine and now she's on Instagram and she's making some YouTube videos as Trailer Trash Tammy. She's really funny.
Who's
she's really
February?
cool.
Tan Mom, and then you go to Honey Boo Boo.
I can't show. I mean, it's fine. It's kind of, there's a
I don't want to see. I don't want to see that lady naked. No, thank you.
Tan Mom.
You're on the big screen. You're on the big screen. Don't.
Right. But yeah, so that's the point. Is that she's
William hung his march.
What about
she bang?
What about my question made you think I wanted to see more of that calendar?
It's like this. It's like that thing where it's this tastes bad. Here, taste it. I think this milk is bad. Taste
Yeah.
it.
Why do people do that?
Hey, this gives you a slight shock if you touch it.
Oh, really? Let me touch it.
Ow!
I thought you said slight.
Don't go in there.
Tad, I find you to be delightful. I look forward to Tad Tuesdays.
Thank you. You put me in a better mood. I was miserable when I came in.
Seems like you were down.
Yeah, why?
Seemed down.
I tried to lift him up.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, the impersonation that always puts a little spring in my step.
Your parents like
Thank
that.
you.
Was that your dad we met?
That was my father-in-law.
Father-in-law,
yeah.
right, that's right.
Hi, Tad's wife. It's Tad. I'll be home late.
All right. I guess we're done, right?
Yeah.
I gotta have somebody stick finger up my behind this afternoon.
Whoa.
Jeremy Tubin's available.
I was having
Your
a
favorite
conversation about
6 seconds of the year.
What is this?
Jeffrey Tubin.
What is this?
Jeff, that's a fist. Who's on CNN?
Jeffrey Tubin.
Google it. All right, bye.
And for fair and balanced, since Tad is on.
Intelligent conversation. As much as you can get from two not very intelligent guys,
funny.
Tad and Drex. Mornings on B98.5.
Why do you have to play that game?
They have one that says, Tad's a little neurotic. Drex has his problems, but Kara, she's the greatest, or something like that. And you're like, oh, great.
Yeah, it's
The voice lady.
Girls could do it
That's
too.
right. I'm the best one on the show, except my name's not on the marquee.